Cocaine in my nose, got rosé in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rosé in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Got rosé in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rosé in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Here in this phenomenal race, Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. TRS is the name. Well, good evening, everybody, and what a pleasure it is to be back to PSGL returns to your screens yet again. It's season 34. The championship might not yet be started, but we're bringing you a social race, your first taste of F1 23 action. My name is, of course, George Morgan, your commentator for yet another blistering season and social race. Joining me, as always, the one, the only, the Irishman, the sensation, is Jack Canan. Jack, how are you?
Great, and for those of you who missed, I'm in HD now, guys. So we're also getting off to this F1 23 start. This is what I look like. I know it looks horrible, but we're back. F1 23. social race for PSGL. The first race on the new game. So excited. Brand new track as well, brand new layout as well. So this is brilliant.
Rock and roll, Jack Canan. Rock and roll, my friend. We're going to Montemelo. We're going to Spain. We're going to the circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya. I, of course, have already been there this year in real life, but I'm coming here this time in a virtual sense, and it's great. It has had a change. You alluded to that, Jack, and we've got plenty to look forward to. Obviously, the opening up of that final corner, of course, formerly holding a chicane. The chicane RACC is no more. It is now a straight run from Europcar all the way through New Holland. Of course, they've already had some other work that has been carried out onto the circuit. Of course, a lot of you will know about that already. Obviously, the opening up of the Lakea Bend heading through out of Verth Curve. That, of course, has had an amendment as well. But we are here with a fully fledged brand new circuit, essentially. Well, the circuit has been used in the MotoGP time after time. This circuit opening up back in 1992. And nevertheless, it's going to bring us yet more excitement as well. We're going to have a look, though, Jack, at the driver lineup, because it's very exciting tonight. Take a look at this. This is our lineup for the social. Of course, it might differ slightly from the reveal that we did last night. If you tuned into that, I hope you guys did. Hope you're as excited as we are. Jana Watmere and Marcel Kiefer partner up in the Mercedes tonight. Thomas Ronhar and Brendan Lee line up for their brand new Cyber Esports lineup as well. Nicholas Longay and Barry Burremand in the Ferrari. Otis Lawrence back after a sensational year last year. Some of you might remember, of course, too young for challenges last year, but still tore it up when he made appearances in PSGL PCF1 last season. He lines up alongside Danny Berejne in the Haas. Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes come together at McLaren, with Frederick Rasmussen and Ishmael Fassi lining up for Red Bull. Fabrizio Donoso and John Evans step up for Aston Martin, with Alvaro Caraton and Shanaka Clay at Williams. Jake Benham and Tom Manley at the AlphaTauri, with Ruben Pedreño and Luke Smith lining up for Alpine. A sensational grid, Jack. Certainly one to look forward to, shall we say.
Absolutely, yeah. Just a quick amendment, I think, so far. I think Otis Lawrence is stepping in at McLaren for Lucas Blakely. I think he's dropped out. So Otis Lawrence is moving. He was in Haas anyway, but he's just flicking over to McLaren for this one. But yeah, super exciting lineup. We're counting down. We haven't got all the drivers in, but that's the way it goes. you got to be on time, guys. As we get to the as we count down, we have all the heavy hitters from last season. And we've got some new faces in for the social race. This isn't the full championship, of course, keep that in mind. But this is going to be our first indication, really, of who's strong and who's not. We can't take everything at face value, of course. If we look at last season, Alvaro Caraton was the man who took the first social race of the event and didn't quite have a solid season towards the middle. But, I mean, this is where we get the first indication, the first proper set of racing on PSGL, the first time we've been to Spain, and it's a first chance to see these drivers out. And we're running full qualifying as well, so a good chance to get them used to that as well.
Yeah, back to the usual formalities as you guys are familiar with. Obviously, in seasons gone by of PSGL, it has also since become the format for F1 Esports as well, so you can use this as a litmus test too. Plenty to look forward to. Obviously, we're excited, and obviously we look forward to seeing who comes out on top in the first event. You alluded to the fact that Alvaro Caraton obviously did take the last social event. He did actually come off the back of having probably, and even he would admit, probably his worst season in F1 Esports. So it's not necessarily the litmus test from the social race, but certainly when we get into the season proper, Jack, that's when we start to see the real, I think, trends start to fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, don't take this as the absolute gospel of what's going to happen, because again, it's early days. Drivers are not going to want to show their hand this early on, but again, it's just great for us to get them out on track for the first time, get them used to racing each other. This is probably one of the first times that we've had all of a good chunk of the esports guys on the same grid in F1 23, so this is an opportunity to see that for the first time. But cars are going out onto the circuit for the first time, and what do you know, no matter what game it is, George, they're out on inters.
They certainly are. We've already got Philip Prejnader out on track, of course, stepping in. Obviously, for the driver we had lost, of course, Lucas Blakely stepping away tonight, of course, being replaced by Otis Lawrence. So across comes Philip Prejnader into the Haas to replace that of Otis Lawrence. And he, of course, lining up alongside that of Danny Berejne. But how about that for a list, folks? A brand new season, a brand new game, and it certainly will be a brand new series. We're looking forward to it. Certainly plenty of exciting stuff. And even for us commentators as well, Jack, we've got a new spectator view, and they've also revamped the cameras. So I'm really thrilled about what we're about to see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly say the spectator at the timing tower, it looks great. This is great to see such a great improvement on that side as well. The game looks fantastic, and we will hope that everything is going to run smoothly forward this season. But it is fantastic to see all the camera layouts and everything else as well. So very very excited. Even the smallest little tweaks, how the logos look on the left-hand side, and a few other minor tweaks as well that just help us out on our side as well. So it does look fantastic, and we hope that everyone is going to enjoy this as well. But again, Q1, drivers are out on inters because they want to save a set of dries. Why would you use up a set of dries when you can use a set of wets? Because there isn't really any regulations on that as well. But even at this early stage, we're getting into this as well. But you can see Philip Preschneider is filling in Haas today for this just for this social race as well. And this is right now the first time that we will see. He's out on the circuit right now, George. Brendan Lee at Alfa Romeo, the first time he's out on circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Just making a few amendments to the audio there, folks. Obviously, I know that some of you were mentioning that obviously the audio is a little bit off. Unfortunately, barely able to hear myself and Jack, so we're going to just try and amend that slightly. Hopefully that's better for you guys. Keep us posted. Obviously, the game, we're trying to adjust everything around here. It's generally the onboards that tend to kick things up for us. Philip Preschneider, though, in the immediates, currently on a fast run in intermediate tyres. You can't necessarily call it, should we say, a fast run at this point. And see them make their way down the long straight now. Philip Preschneider up towards the line, sets the benchmark for now, of course, on intermediate tyres, although that's just been snatched away by one Otis Lawrence, a 1:15.099 to kick us off.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence, of course, he took his first victory last season on F1 22 back at the towards the end of the season. Quite unexpected victory, but a not undeserving one for him there. He did a fantastic job. So he carries that over into the season. He's filling in for Lucas Blakely today at McLaren, so we'll see how he gets on, but he got multiple returning drivers across the board here, and well, he's coming to the pits now, but we'll catch a couple of these guys who are not going to bother for intermediate runs at the moment. But Otis Lawrence is currently provisionally fastest in Q1 on a 1:15.0 on intermediate tyres, and of course the lap times are going to be much quicker than we have seen last season because the chicane, of course, has been removed in the last corner. We're using the old layout, which is far superior compared to the chicane. I never liked it at all. That final chicane just didn't flow right. But now we've got this fantastic layout that just gives us an extra bit, and I think it's going to work really well for league racing in particular. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Into the pits comes Otis Lawrence, though, and the McLaren now will beckon its way through. We haven't seen anyone move on the soft tyres just yet. It is all quiet on the western front. Dylan Warren, though, out on track as well. He's also currently lined up in a Red Bull. Didn't know we had Dylan Warren down for tonight, to be fair. So we've definitely had some major changes. It was actually due to be Freddie Rasmussen and Ishmael Fassi, unless someone has changed their name to Dylan Warren as a prank for me as well. We will wait and see. But certainly at this moment in time, Dylan Warren currently second fastest, 1:15.202. But yes, it's Lawrence on top. And great to see the cars out on track, and also a nice opportunity for us to get a view as to how the spectator mode looks, and obviously the way the cars look out on track. And if you actually have a look at the sheer picturesqueness of it and the actual view on it, Jack, definitely looks a lot more cinematic than last year. And I would also hasten to add, a little more realistic too.
Yeah, yeah. As far as I can see, it doesn't take up as much. Well, it does take up a decent amount of room, but also it just looks a little bit nicer for us to look at quickly on the left-hand side as well. So yeah, a nice job on those graphics, and just again, we appreciate all the little updates that have been made, and we can just wait now. It's all quiet here in Q1 as we wait to get the first sort of proper runs underway here in Spain for the first social race of PSGL, and we'll see who's going to take to the track first. This is, of course, an opportunity for a couple of guys to make their debuts for their teams, because we haven't seen them out. And F1 23 in league racing, so to speak. We're waiting to see Marcel Kiefer emerge out onto the track, part of Mercedes, and we'll see how he looks in those colours as well. Brendan Lee has already been out on circuit for Alfa Romeo, and a couple more still we are waiting for to make their debuts on F1 23, but I don't think we're going to see anybody out until we hit that 10-minute mark.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think obviously it's very exciting to see how the drivers fare on this new game. I know speaking to Jarno Watmere before and also hearing him speak about this game, he feels like he's back to his best as well, Jack. And we've heard a few things from various names in the camp and a lot of people comparing it back to the old 2020 game that we had in terms of the handling model. I think obviously that must excite a few names out there, the likes of Watmere, maybe even the likes of Brendan Lee. Obviously those former champions that were, should we say, you know, gracing us with their presence in being the top guys prior to the 2022 and 2021 game. We could yet see repeat champions for the first time in F1 Esports, as well as many others perhaps taking a bit of a charge. But what about Frederick Rasmussen, a man who has not appeared outside the top 3 in a championship in F1 Esports? Could this be his year? He's been second in the championship ever since 2019, every year running while driving for Red Bull. Could this year be the difference?
Well, I mean, I think he'd be one to like to see the return of a game that handles like, you know, F1 21, F1 2020. Because that, again, it doesn't matter what game he's on, Freddie is quick, but he seemed more at home on those particular styles. So we will see if this is going to be the year. But I think his consistency is immense to constantly finish second in the championship. But whatever's happened, in each season, some big event has gone on that's dropped him out of contention early on. So we will we'll see if this is going to be the year. I mean, we know from statistics-wise, if you win the PSGL title, the first one on the initial game, you tend to go on and win the F1 Esports title. So we'll see if you can get it started even here, because it does bring momentum forward. We saw it with Jarno and we saw it with Lucas last year. So that's 2 out of 2 for us so far. We're going for a third.
Yeah, we've got caution as well in the first sector. Many of the cars, of course, making their way across the line to commence laps. Philip Prejnader, the first to do so on soft tyres. He was the first out as well on intermediates. And he himself not actually... should be something. He's got a little bit of traffic here as well. This is going to be less than ideal. Have a look at the amount of cars now that are out in front of him. This will no doubt scupper the lap for Philip Prejnader. And McLaren right on his racing line. That could be controversial, Jack.
Yeah, I think that was. I think they were maybe unsure that he was on a push lap, but yeah, that was definitely a bit unusual for Philip Prejnader. He had to just weave his way through the traffic. Did not pay off for him. He's going to have to back off and recharge. Manu is on a push lap. Is beginning a push lap right now is John Evans back at Aston Martin, looking to improve off his first season of F1 Esports. So let's see what he can do. And again, alongside Fabrizio Donoso, alongside Simon Weigang, now has a year under his belt. So could we see now a new John Evans?
We could well do. Of course, he has a history of winning races as well. Luke Smith goes to the top of the 111.212. Of course, we spoke about John Evans yesterday for the driver reveal show. Certainly did not display the best that we could have expected for him. Of course, he was one but last in last season's championship, of course, just ahead of teammate last year, Manuel Biancalila, and now looks to join up with the likes of Simon Weigang as well as Fabrizio Donoso as part of a three-driver contingent at Aston Martin. And we will be seeing all 3 of them at PSGL this season as well, as John Evans makes his way up through Bank Saint-Bedel as well. Just getting a little squirty though, heading through the final corner, through Europe car and now through New Holland, and he's lifted off. You can just hear him lifting off and dropping down the gears. This lap certainly will be uninspired, and I think this will certainly disappoint him. A 1:12.154. But a little moment heading through the final sector certainly hampered his lap.
Certainly did, yeah. Otis Lawrence on a big push now in the middle sector. Looking very, very tidy overall. Of course, it's all about being in that top 16 for Q1. So these are going to be the first sort of push laps that we've seen in the game so far in PSGL. So we'll watch Otis Lawrence as he comes out of the final corner now. Definitely no hint of a lift there as he came through the final corner. Crossing the line now, and he'll go to the top of the 10.804 quickest time so far. Still a couple more cars still to yet to cross the start-finish line, put a decent lap on the board. We'll keep an eye as much as we can. Nicholas Longay, 900th of a second behind Otis Lawrence. Wilson Hughes, next to cross the line, slots right between 1,000th of a second quicker than Nicholas Longay. Super close. Caraton slots into 4th as he comes across the line. Berezny goes in 11.0, just behind him in P4. And then we have Pedreño popping into the 1:10s as he goes in a 1:10.996. Jake Benham into P8. He's driving for AlphaTauri this season as well, of course. Popping in then Tom Manley, also on a 10.947. next to Thomas Ronnar across the line, 11.0 on his first run. Across the line, there's Otmir just behind Otis Lawrence on the 10.845. Then we have Marcel Kiefer on 11.2. We're waiting now for a couple more cars across the line. Barry Burman, reigning champ, crosses the line, P15. He's on medium tyres though, and he accidentally did that, so we'll wait and see if he can put in a decent lap on the softs. And Freddie Rasmussen pop it in to P6 with Brendan Lee popping into P10. The first laps are over, and well, it's as close as it ever is.
That is insanely close, Jack. I was just about to obviously speak about that. Obviously a 1:10.804 for Otis Lawrence right at the sharp end. What a young talent this young man is. Going faster than Jarno Otmir, who certainly looks in rude form after his obviously difficult season last year, and able to recapture that F1 Esports crown to make it 3 consecutive championships. But returns here in PSGL, being a former champion in this series as well. Second fastest here in Q1 as well, in behind that of Otis Lawrence. Wilson Hughes in third, showing a great deal of pace as well. I'm sure those back at McLaren will be chuffed to have their top men up in Ps1 and Ps3. Not to mention Nicholas Longay in fourth as well. Obviously Lawrence, we're not sure where his career is going to forge its way, but certainly if he's putting his name right at the top in amongst names like this, surely a little contract can't be far away, Jack.
Yeah, it certainly can't be, but you have to remember Otis Lawrence is still not old enough to get into F1 Esports just yet. So again, he just needs to keep performing at this level though, and he has a win under his belt already here in PSGL. He's a pole position to his name as well, so he can never be, and that's confidence straight away. Otis Lawrence on a 10.804 decides that he's done enough to get himself through into Q2. So there's only two drivers. Three drivers haven't set a representative lap time yet, and that is John Evans, Philip Prechter, and Ishmael Fassi, who's in at Williams filling in for Shanaka Clay. But Ishmael is actually on a push lap as far as I can see right now. But good confidence from Otis Lawrence immediately. He's the only driver to have retired. He thinks he's done enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, to retire at this stage, Pedreño's followed suit as well. A 10.996 is enough for Pedreño in 7th, or at least he thinks it is, as Luke Smith now makes his way around the first sector and heading through this next right at Repsol as well. He'll then make his way down through towards the next left at Seat Curve. Already backing off though at this point. So we're seeing the times now sort themselves out. Nicholas Longay retires from the session as well. And we've also got Philip Prechter out on a flying lap too, obviously looking to improve on that 1:16 that he's already set and lift himself off the bottom. As it stands though, Lawrence still controls the timing screen right now, and now makes his way down through towards the next left too. Brendan Lee though, setting himself in P11 ahead of Thomas Ronha, his teammate too, and the gap between them sits at just, well, around 200ths of a second, Jack.
There's 5 drivers in the same 10th of a second there, but Danny Beresne, Alvaro Caraton, Brendan Lee, Thomas Ronnar, and Fabrizio Donoso, and now Philip Prechter is all on an 11.0. This is classic PSGL right here, to have all of these drivers separated by, that's 6 drivers in the same 10th of a second, 900 separating the 6 of them, and Ruben Pedreño is on a 1 minute 10.996. He feels he's safe, but everyone else behind a 10th of a second will rock you up 6 places if you can get yourself in there. So currently in the drop zone is Luke Smith, Marcel Kiefer, Barry Bormand, who has not done a lap on the softs yet, and John Evans, who has not set a representative time yet. But as ever, as close as you want it to be here at PSGL. You can imagine a lot of these guys would also be holding back some pace at the end. But again, this is just a social, but they'll want to take that first blood here and show what they can do. But everybody up to sort of from above Freddie Rasmussen, excluding Ruben Pedreño, has decided that they need to go again. But a 10th of a second, I mean, if everybody else behind improves by even a 10th or even half a 10th, it'll could see them through.
Yeah, could well do. Luke Smith looking to get himself through as well, and this will be essentially, I would say, his last chance, because he has used quite a plethora of the compound on that soft tyre, and now looking to try and enlist a faster lap. Of course, we saw him back off on his previous run, now making his way through the final corners. Now, turn 14 beckons straight into the pits, and this will leave him a very small, narrow margin. I don't think he's going to put this one down, but certainly given the fact that we're in the final 2 minutes, I think he's going to struggle here, Jack. I can't see there being another lap on hand for Luke Smith here.
Yeah, he invalidated out of that, going out of that second to last corner, I think it was, and he's had to come in now. The lap is so short, he might get out again, but it's going to be really tight for this. Now, Jake Benham is also on an improvement. He's in the drop zone now in a 111.143. He's on a push lap now, and he's the only driver currently on that push lap. So Jake Benham, then you've got Luke Smith, Marcel Kiefer, Barry Borman, and John Evans. They are now going to be trying to get themselves through. And you've got Berezne, Caraton, Brendan Lee, Thomas Ronard, Donoso. They're all beginning push laps as well, trying to get themselves through. Luke Smith does not have enough time to go again, so he is going to be the first driver eliminated from this session. So we'll see how he can recover from there. But Jake Benham, he's a 1/10 of a second up in the middle sector now in his AlphaTauri. Of course, he is part of Mercedes, but is in that AlphaTauri seat for this season. Altmir's now retired as well. He feels that he is safe. Donoso has now, I think, popped himself into P8 in front of Pedreno. He has. So Donoso's improved and is now in. Benham crosses the line now, and he goes into P60 on a 0.9 as well. This is super close now. That drops Luke Smith down into P17. Of course, he is in the drop zone, but Dylan Warren's now in the drop zone. Caraton's improved into P7, 1,000th behind Jake Benham, as close as you would like. Now, who else is on a push lap? Danny Berezne, a 1/10.5 up. He is at the moment. And we'll see, he's actually gone quickest of all in the middle sector now, as he crosses now into the final two corners. Berezne in Haas, of course, he's also part of Mercedes, but has got the Haas seat for this season. Out of the final corner, Berezne is on an improvement. This will shoot him, rocket him up the order, and it's a 10.842, a couple of thousandths quicker than the guys behind him. Brendan Lee improves, does the same time as Alvaro Caraton. John Evans pops in now. Ronar's on the drop zone. He's in P12 now, improves, but that puts Donoso in trouble. But I think he might be able to squeeze through, but I'm not too sure. Dylan Warren coming out of the final corner on an improvement, goes P4. Dylan Warren, massive improvement. Marcel Kiefer, does he go through? No, Kiefer is out on his first attempt here in PSGL in Mercedes. But what about Barry Borman? He's the last car on the track, crosses the line now and goes to the top, the reigning champ up to the top.
Yep, familiar sights here from last season. Barry Borman now fastest in Q1 to the top, a 1:10.780. And an almighty, if you consider this grid, the only driver in the 10.7s, and goes near enough 200ths clear of Otis Lawrence in second place. Danny Berejne in third as well, with Jarno Watmir in fourth, Dylan Warren fifth, Wilson Hughes in sixth. That is pretty much all she wrote, folks. Donoso, Pedreno, Prejnader, Kiefer, and Smith were all, well, we're going to be losing them out of this session, where they will not be progressing into Q2. So I tell you what, drama already at the very start of qualifying, but certainly some familiar faces hurtling to the top, Jack. Barry Borman being one of them.
I am shocked at the gaps. This is one of the closest sessions we have ever had. There is a 1/10 of a second covering second down to 17th. That is what we've got right now. Otis Lawrence on a 10.8, and then you have Ruben Pedreno on a 10.996. That is insanely close. A 10th between all of these guys. Barry Borman on a 10.780 is only 200ths quicker than Otis Lawrence. But there is essentially, from the top down to the very bottom, is 3/10 of a second. And the middle part, you've got Ishmael Fassi on a 10.9, all the way down to Ruben Pedreno on a 10.9. That's crazy. This is so close.
It is exceedingly close. I mean, mere tenths of a second between them. Most of them within the same 10. Barry Borman back to the top, though. Some things never change. It is certainly going to be Barry Borman who will take them through on top. The very first man to go fastest in PSGL in a qualifying session. He has just gone fastest in Q1 with a 1:10.779. 25 thousandths away is Otis Lawrence. Danny Berejne, 63 thousandths in behind. 66 thousandths behind Jarno Watmir. And then you've got a gap of just over a 1/10 of a second to Dylan Warren in fifth. Impressive session from him as well. Let's take a look down below and see the drivers that we have lost. Fabrizio Donoso, Ruben Pedreno, Philip Prejnader, and Marcel Kiefer and Luke Smith. They are all going to be backing out of qualifying after not proceeding or getting into the top 15. Frederick Rasmussen, not ideal, right on the bubble, P15, setting a 1:10.976. We'd expect better from him, Jack, I think.
We would, but again, he is through into the next part of qualifying. I think he only did the one run as well, so he does have that extra set available to him. But I have to look, Jake Benham, Alvaro Caraton, and it's Jake Benham, Alvaro Caraton, Brendan Lee, and Tom Manley. So that's four drivers were separated by 6/1000ths of a second. There in Jake between 10th down to 13th. Alvaro Carreton and Brendan Lee on the exact same time as well. So super close across the board here. But yeah, some things never change. Barry Borman at the front at Q1. Not the first time he's topped the session, of course, but nice to see Otis Lawrence up at the front end. He did that on his first run as well, so he should be very happy with that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're Otis Lawrence right now and you're really showing what you can do in front of some of the best drivers in the world, I'd also argue as well, Dylan Warren, an absolutely sensational run as well, getting that those first laps in and getting himself into the top 5 to boot. I mean, that is certainly no mean feat against some of the greats of the game that you have witnessed certainly go ahead and secure big results in the world of F1 Esports. Some of them are F1 Esports champions as well in this field. So the fact that we've got them, in fact, we've got the only 2 multi-time champions here in PSGL as well. So you can't get much better than that. But we've got Q2 just around the corner and obviously plenty more in hand. Another 5 drivers will be eliminated after this one. Jack, where do you see the pace going? Who has really shone out and stood out for you, aside from Otis Lawrence, of course?
I mean, it's hard to pick one already, but Dylan Warren looks good, I have to say, with that second run. And Danny Beresne looking really solid as well up at that top end. So it's hard to predict, really, because the top 10 is going to be very hard fought, I think, with those kind of gaps. With basically a 10th covering second down to about 16th, 17th. You can expect maybe this top 10 to maybe be separated by half a tenth. I think with this new layout, of course, with that chicane gone, it shortens the lap quite significantly time-wise. So I'm expecting this to be about half a tenth between the top 10.
Yeah, well, it could get exceedingly close. We saw quite a few times also getting tight up at the sharp end. Obviously, the top 5 were generally within a single tenth of a second. Dylan Warren just outside by 9 thousandths in total in that extract. I mean, we did allude to this. Obviously, I remember speaking about the fact that this could be the closest year I think we've ever seen the cars together. I think based on what we've seen in Q1, that's absolutely correct. Am I right?
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, we have cars out on track for Q2. It's getting a little bit tight for space with these guys, but you can expect some things never change between games. You can expect these first runs to be on used sets of the soft tire, just to again save themselves an extra set of new tires for a possible Q3 attempt. But you've got this is of course some things do not change. But I do like to see that already. The 2 Ferrari cars are together on the track, and there's already been argy-bargy between Jake Benham. And who was that with that interaction? I think that was Barry Borman trying to keep track space, basically trying to take Benham off the road.
Yeah, he certainly did, and not ideal at all, certainly for him. Coming together, and obviously coming a cropper around this point in the circuit. Obviously, how's that going to affect the drivers themselves? Obviously, given the fact now they made that contact, is there potential wing damage there? It did look like there was some contact heading through down towards Lakea. How are they going to respond? Jarno Watmir already out on the lap as well as he makes his way through the first sector. Let's see what the Flying Dutchman can enlist on his opening lap, bidding to become a returning PSGL champion and also potentially a 3-time F1 Esports champion. And he will then hold the record for most championships in history, as will Brendan Lee, if he can start a comeback of his own as well.
He can, of course. Lucas Blakely will be wanting to get that second title as well, and we'll see if he can go back-to-back. Only one guy's, well, we've had Brendan Lee do it, and we've had Jarno Watmir do it. Let's see if he can join the 2 club, or can somebody finally get 3? We've had nobody get 3 so far in F1 Esports, but we certainly have in the form of Jarno Watmir. He's done 3 here. First man to beat him was, of course, Lucas Blakely, and then followed suit by Barry Borman, of course, who beats out Thomas Toronto for the title afterwards. 11.1 for Thomas Toronto on the first run. 11.000 for Otis Lawrence. You'd expect that if that's on a used set, that's great. But Wilson Hughes out of the box, 10.8 for the Scotsman, and followed suit by Jarno Watmir on a 110.903. Jake Benham on 11.2. Barry Borman at 11.1. Longe will follow behind on a 10.880, just slots himself just between, and then you can fit a Freddie Rasmussen in there, who sets the same time as Wilson Hughes. And that's the second time this has happened so far this qualifying session. I don't think that's happened before.
No, we actually saw, obviously, matching times, I think, towards the end of last season, which was absolutely unbelievable. In fact, we did have a notion, I think, of last season where we had 3 cars in the same lap time and the same delta. Of course, that sort of thing has not been seen, of course, but if some of you want to reference it to anything, obviously, it's Jerez back in 97, where you had Jacques Villeneuve, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, as well as Michael Schumacher as well in that great battle for the title between that of Villeneuve and Schumacher. But nevertheless, we're getting it here as well in PSGL. Only 2 cars, not 3 on this occasion. A couple of other drivers still out and about looking to initialise their first flying laps. John Evans looking to do the same, as well as Tom Manley, who is also down in 14th place, yet to enlist a time of his own. A few other cars out on track. Ismail Fassi, the only man not to leave the pit lane yet to put together his next fast run. We'll have to wait and see whether he can deliver anything at all, as John Evans now has to deal with all sorts of traffic heading through the back Sabadell corner and losing the rear end as well, catching the bollard. That could prove to be certainly a big moment for him, but it has cost him, I think, a little bit on this opening run, and getting caught up in traffic is not ideal, Jack.
No, it's not. He invalidated in the middle sector there as well. The Tom Manley, so he had to come straight back in. That's the first runs out, and as everybody else comes into the pit lane, Ismail Fassi takes that as his cue to come out of the pits and get the whole track to himself in the Williams car. So let's see how he gets on here. He has everyone's attention here in PSGL at the moment. So current first runs, Wilson Hughes currently the quickest, point ahead of Freddie Rasmussen in P2 on the same lap time. Followed closely then by Nicholas Longage, just a couple of hundreds behind. 200s further back then is Jarno Watmere, and then Alvaro Carreton up in P5 there as well. Currently the cards on the cusp is Dylan Warren. He is on an 11.212, just behind Thomas Ronar, and those are of course the first runs in these cars. So we'll wait and see now. Ismail Fassi will have the whole track to himself to take us on a lap around this circuit, and well, he's made it through the Q2. I mean, possibly a dark horse for Q3.
It's a possibility. Makes his way down the start-finish straight, past the line, of course, back in the day in 1992 when this track opened up. That start-finish line was utilised as the start-finish line for the endurance cycling event that they held at the Olympic Games that year, which is of course held in Spain. And now Ismail Fassi crosses it, makes his way through the initial sector, and makes his way down the straight, heading through this next right as well. Fassi, who impressed many last season when he raced in PSGL F2, has since gone to F1 Esports Challenges and competed, has put his name on the shortlist for many an F1 team. Today he's driving in the Williams. Could this be a source of news soon to come? Of course, we already heard that Will Lewis signed with the Williams outfit based on his performances last season as well. And we'll look forward to seeing whether Ismail Fassi can adopt certainly some pace here as part of his own rise in the world of league racing. And he'll hope, certainly in his own mind's eye, that he can achieve something big in esports as well. Makes his way through the back Sabadell corners, and will now make his way down through towards the Europe car bend before dipping into New Holland as well. Round the final bend he does, carrying all the pace in 6th gear as well, leaving nothing to chance, and across the line he will go 4th fastest for Ismail Fassi. That's a 1:10.889. Otis Lawrence also back out on track. He makes his way up towards the line as well, as he now proceeds to make his way down through towards turn 1 as well, setting a 1:11 flat in the initial. Of course, here in Q2 they might be plumbing for those used soft tyres in the initial. Quite a few cars getting caught up as well on their previous run, but an impressive lap by Ismail Fassi, Jack.
It is, and he becomes the 4th driver to set a 1:10.8, just 9 thousandths off of Nicholas Longay, and only about 300ths off of that fastest time. Now remember, Barry Borman set the initial fastest time we've had so far. That was a 1:10.78 in Q2, or Q1, excuse me. So you can expect these times to drop even further, but I'm getting not too far off my prediction of half a tenth once all of these guys improve, I think, for this now. So as we see, Dylan Warren now has been displaced because of that Ismail Fassi lap. So that puts Thomas Ronar on the bubble now. He's P10, 11.175, is on a lap at the moment. And of course, this is the first time we'll get to see him out in Alfa Romeo colours. Of course, he's moved across from Haas, now teams up with Brendan Lee who is actually, I think, about to cross the start-finish line. He is crossing the line now. Brendan Lee, P5 for the two-time Esports champion. There's Otis Lawrence, fastest time so far, 1 minute 10.650. Ronar will cross the line and go second just behind on a 1 minute 10.714. And I think this will be Jake Benham now to come into P5. Also on a 1 minute 10.8, just to make it there with Otis Lawrence. Great stuff. 1 minute 10.65, fastest time so far.
Yeah, Wilson Hughes now on top though, as he ultimately usurped him as well. The two McLarens unrelenting, working in tandem. A 1:10.638 for Wilson Hughes. Otis Lawrence second. Thomas Ronhart 3/4 of a tenth in behind Otis Lawrence. Just look at that. The gap's now starting to get smaller and smaller. Frederick Rasmussen in fourth as well. Danny Berejne into the fold with a 1:10.660. A whole, well, 100th of a second in behind. But Barry Burman, last year's champion, back again with a 1:10.553. They're getting faster. They're getting quicker here towards the midway. They're coming into the final 5 minutes of this session of Q2. We'll just have to wait and see what the other drivers can enlist, because I'm pretty sure there's more to come, Jack. Jana Watmier also out on the lap, heading down through towards turn 1. Caraton's in the top 10 as well. Manley in 9th. There's plenty more to come. I sense some drama here in Q2, Jack.
Yeah, that's a big lap from Barry Borman. Jana Watmier just finished his push lap and just slotted himself in on a 1 minute 10.826 for the moment. So there's nothing to choose between these guys. You've got John Evans on a 1 minute 10.86. You also have Jake Benham also on a 1 minute 10.86. Ishmael Fassi on a 1 minute 10.88. And so small improvements will see these guys through. But currently Barry Borman, reigning champ, just in front of Wilson Hughes and in front of Otis Lawrence, who's only filling in this week, of course, for Lucas Blakely. So, of course, Lucas will be very happy to see his car in good hands. But Danny Berejne looking very solid there in P4. Ronard just in front of Rasmussen, then Longay and Caraton. Tom Manley's in that top 10. Impressive from Tom Manley, I have to say. And Jana Watmier just in there in P10. So we'll see some more laps, I think. Ishmael Fassi's doing what he did before. He's come out again while everyone else comes into the pits. So he'll be on a push lap. And I said it again, he slotted himself in on the previous attempt. Now drops to 13th. He needs to sort of, if he wants to make sure that he's safe, I sort of feel he needs to slot himself in front of maybe Otis Lawrence to see himself safe. Yeah,
well, just take a look at these gaps as well, folks. You can see there Wilson Hughes currently sat in second place. 84 thousandths in behind that of Barry Burman, 97 thousandths for Otis Lawrence, and just over a tenth of a second for Danny Berejne in fourth. And then quite a healthy gap then. Thomas Ronhart in fifth, who's another near 600 slower than that of Danny Berejne as well, just over 1.5 tenths slower than Barry Burman, who currently holds on to top spot. Remember, Ronhart, of course, challenging Burman to last season's championship in PSGL in that very dramatic final race that saw Burman become champion in the stewards' room after a great level of incidents were reviewed in that last fight. I mean, it was one to remember, Jack, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So we will see how this season is going to go, of course. But it was dramatic, to say the least. So we will keep our eyes on Ishmael Fassi as he comes up to the second sector now. He's 400ths up in the first sector, and he comes down towards the middle sector now, drops himself the 9 thousandths up on his best time coming through. But that would actually, at the moment, that cumulatively would see it maybe just slot in behind Jana Watmier. He needs a big sort of final sector here to slot himself through, but he's coming out of the final corner down into the start-finish straight. Here comes Fassi down towards the line. Will this be enough to see himself through, crosses the line? Yes, 1 minute 10.780. And just puts himself in, and of course now knocks Jana Watmier into the drop zone.
Yeah, it certainly does. P7 for Fassi. A 1:10.780 slots him just behind Freddie Rasmussen and just ahead of Nicholas Longay as well. Brendan Lee is also out on track too. Of course, recently announced and signed to the Sauber Esports outfit. Of course, many will know them, or many of you will know them as Alfa Romeo, of course, in the seasons to come as Danny Berejne retires from the session. Of course, 2026 is when they've outlined a transition towards Audi to become the new F1 team as part of the Sauber group. And this time, Brendan Lee currently sat in 14th to be looking to try and jackknife himself higher up the order. Of course, currently sat in 14th, 1:10.902. Looking to find that little bit extra to galvanise the performance, get himself up into the top 10, so he makes his way through into Q3. As you know, makes his way now down this long straight, and certainly one of the longest straights you will see in this series, as we're now seeing Lee make his way through turns 1 and turns 2 out of Elf Curve, and he'll then make the move around the Renault section at turn 3. He's got Repsol at turn 4 as well, and he'll look to keep this tight around the inside as well. Has already found near enough a 1/10 of a second in that first sector. He has got a little bit of traffic to deal with, though. This could prove to be a little tricky for him through the seat. Just deep dive down towards the next left-hander, using all the track, using all the pace as well that he can galvanise out of the Sauber Esports car as he makes the ascent, heading out of the birth curve through towards Kamsa around turn 9 as well. And now with DRS open, just look at the cars in front of him here. He's got to try and negotiate his way through while trying to unleash a faster lap here. This could prove to be tricky. Couple of cars on the racing line as he now rises up through back Sambadell. This could be dangerous for Brendan Lee. Remember, he did gain a 1/10 of a second in the first sector. He's in the third sector now and looking to push and find absolutely anything and everything he can in order to push himself into the top 10 across the line. It's not enough. P11 for Brendan Lee, and that could be sayonara here in this session. In fact, I think it will be with just under 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, disappointing for Brendan Lee there. Only 100th out. He'll be very disappointed with that, but this is going to be super, super close as we get into the final stages of this Q2 session now. It's anyone's game. Freddie Rasmussen, he's out on the track as well. Ronar has not emerged out in P5, so let's see if anybody else behind can improve. So Brendan Lee, we know he's going to be out unless he goes for a second attempt, but he's not going to. Jarno Watmir is going to need to go again. He's P12 currently, but we're waiting to see now. Otis Lawrence, I think, is going to be the first car. He's gone quickest of all in the middle sector, 300th up on his best. He comes out now, down through the fast right into the final corner. The first car to get himself across the start-finish line. The final runs at Q2. Here comes Otis Lawrence then, and he goes to the top on a 1:10.524. Next up, Tom Manley. He's P10 currently. Can't improve and validates out of the final corner. Now we wait for Nicholas Longe. I'm not sure he's on an improvement either. He's a 10th down in the middle sector. Has he improved anywhere? No, he hasn't. Next up across the line will be, I think, it'll be one of the cars behind, but they haven't managed to improve. It'll be then John Evans now. He needs to get himself into Q3 now for the first time so far this season. Crosses the start-finish line. Is he in? Yes, he is. It's John Evans in for the moment. Caraton sneaks in through as well. Waiting to see now a couple more to cross the line. Benham, he's not going to make it. Jarno Watmir now crossing the line. He's in just about. Jarno Watmir makes it through. Dylan Warren, he's in. And that brings an end to qualifying here in Q2 with one of the closest ones we've had so far, but shock exit there for Nicholas Longe, out by 6/1000ths of a second, and you can see there across the board super improvements all the way around. Ishmael Fassi, he's also knocked out by the skin of his teeth, but Otis Lawrence tops the session, and well, there wasn't quite the half a 10th gap I was expecting, but some real surprises there and some brilliant performances, you have to say. Dylan Warren, hats off into Q3.
He seems like he's back, Jack. Now, I remember back in season 27 when Dylan Warren first appeared to us in the PC Championship in PSGL, and what a season he had as well. One of the young pretenders we thought might become an F1 esports driver for the future. He's reigniting that fire right now. 7th fastest in this session, but what about Otis Lawrence? He was fastest in Q1, he's fastest in Q2, and certainly displaying all the plaudits that certainly display in a top F1 esports driver. Once again, usurping the talents that are behind him. Frederick Rasmussen in 3rd as well. What about Wilson Hughes as well? Sorry, Otis wasn't fastest in Q1. Thank you, Jonah Martins, for that. It was indeed Barry Burrman. Wilson Hughes as well in 4th. Danny Berejne 5th. Caraton in 6th. Dylan Warren 7th, with John Evans 8th. Thomas Ronhan 9th. Jarno Watmir in 10th. Ishmael Fassi 11th. Nicholas Longe in 12th. Tom Manley 13th. Brendan Lee 14th. And Jake Benham in 15th place. We're losing, though, the bottom 5. Certainly is a shame for them. Naturally, everyone wants to get into Q3, Jack. That is essentially the pole shootout. But again, the young pretenders displaying all their promise, but also the returning champs and the, should we say, the favourites from last year coming back again.
Certainly is, yeah. We always have these guys are always seems to be up here. You've got Freddie Rasmussen, you've got Jarno Watmir, you've got the likes of Thomas Ronar, you've got Alvaro Caraton. Remember, he was quick this time last year, and once again he's there. Danny Berejne, and you've also got the mix in now of the young guys. Otis Lawrence, John Evans, really impressive, and you've got now as well Wilson Hughes in his second season as well. So a great mix right here that we've got lined up. And well, I mean, it's anybody's guess for pole at the moment. Otis Lawrence looks super strong, and I'm sure he'd like to be the first one to take home a victory this season.
I think so. I think naturally he's gonna want to try and take it. We'll have to wait and see whether he can. Obviously, still lots of question marks, but we'll wait and see as to who will take it. Jarno Watmere, I can tell you, folks, is the first man out on track. So we will move across to the game screen. There he is, of course. On your screens now. We are now into the pole shootout. Jarno Watmere, the Flying Dutchman, is now currently sat on track. The sole car on the circuit as well for now. Every other car in the pit lane now. A reduced time limit, obviously, to set your times here in this session. Of course, Q3 now 10 minutes and 30, just over that, in fact, to go. And John Evans is going to join Jarno out on circuit 2, the Aston Martin. Impressive run for John Evans. He's sort of been the sleuth in the night here, Jack. Of course, we did allude to the fact he didn't have his easiest run in esports last season, but now on his outlap, he's in Q3.
Certainly is, and it's great to see. Of course, Chris Richardson also didn't make it this far, but John Evans, he's come straight out of the blocks, and like I said, he's got that year of experience under his belt now, and he'll want to focus in, get himself, or make sure that he's deserving of that season so far. In the first social, of course, this is only the first social of this season, so we can't take everything at face value, but it is great to see some slightly different names mixing it up, and it's a testament to see that the same guys continue to be up at the front end each game cycle, no matter what. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that I'm delighted to see Dylan Warren on the pace immediately, and well, maybe he's your dark horse.
Maybe, and we could yet see maybe a huge change up in the sharp end, but great to see the young drivers stepping up. We've got the likes of John Evans, Dylan Warren, not to mention that, of course, of Otis Lawrence, who we've seen time and time again deliver. Of course, he started delivering at the end of last season when he started attempting to win races, of course, challenging the very best in race conditions on the F1 22 game at PSGL last season. And we're just seeing certainly plenty of them out on track now, looking to become the next big thing in the world of F1 esports. Jarno Watmere, who has been and done it twice, now making his way around the Europe car corner, chooses not to set a lap, obviously with an issue, comes into the pit lane, and will now look to re-evaluate his situation. John Evans out on track as well. Another mistake, though, coming into John Evans' lap as he makes a little error out of the seat curve. That might cost him a little bit of time, Jack.
Yeah, he's invalidated the time as well, so that's definitely going to bring an end to it for him. But Dylan Warren has begun his fast lap out on the circuit at the moment, so we will get an idea on these first runs where he's going to sit. If anybody's going to bother trying to go on a U set straight away, or will they just come straight out on those new tyres? So we'll manage to save an extra second bet. They'll go straight away onto those new set of new tyres. And actually going to work with, of course, Dylan Warren. 21.4 in the first sector for him, and of course he does set the initial fastest sector of anybody. Of course, they've got nobody else out on a timed lap just yet. We've got one of the McLarens about to begin their lap now as they start across the start finish line. We'll stick with Dylan Warren, though. Otis Lawrence, he's the man beginning his first push lap. But Dylan Warren, let's see where this time is going to be. We're looking in the region of a 1 minute 10.5 to be sort of competitive. It could dip into those 10 minutes, 1 minute 10.4, 10.3 even for pole position here. But we know roughly where these times should be as he comes through the final corner now, heading up into the start finish line now. Just a short downshift up to the line now, crosses the line and does a 10 minute point 9. So I would imagine that'll be a U set of tyres. Yeah, absolutely. Dylan Warren getting things off to a pacey start, 1:10.913 on the table, but certainly we'd imagine that they will save their best for last. We're going to get the initial out the way, but when we come towards the end, certainly of the session, we'll start to see them dipping into the brand new tyres and try and certainly excavate some really, really fast laps. Of course, John Evans still out on track as well, making his way into the pit lane. Danny Berejne also out on circuit. He's in the second sector as well. Otis Lawrence also making his way around the final sector too, so he's going to try and join Dylan Warren up at the sharp end and enlist perhaps a potentially faster time. Does go faster as well with a 1:10.453 for Otis Lawrence to kick things off, as now Wilson Hughes goes second fastest with a 1:10.
5-0-2. More and more times creeping through as well. Freddie Rasmussen in the first sector, soon to be in the second. Barry Burremand also out and about. Thomas Ronha also in the second sector as well. So plenty of action out on track. Ronha looking to try and enlist a fast time as well. Currently sits P10 after having one of the most, what can only be described as outrageous seasons last year, coming into contest with that of Barry Burremand, and of course they're looking set to contest again this season, of course both in different teams. Of course Barry moving across from McLaren into the Ferrari team, and Thomas Ronha moving across from Haas to Sauber Esports. And of course we heard today the news that RHE are confirmed as the official partners of the Alfa Romeo and the Sauber Esports setup, as well as Thomas Ronha now makes his way to round turn 14 very shortly in the final sector. Around the final corner now, Thomas Ronha across the line. Where's he going to be? Sixth fastest with a 1:10.693. Not enough to go as fast as Otis Lawrence. A great time again by the youngster as Jana Watmir sits in the second sector, looking to lay down his first lap time.
Yeah, it's super close up the front end. Barry Burremand just a couple of hundredths off the back of Otis Lawrence. The only guys in the moment 10.4, but I can't tell you, Jana Watmir has just gone quickest at everybody in the middle sector. So we'll see what the Dutchman can do now. Is it really good for sector 21.315? He's biggest of all in the middle sectors. Let's see what he can put together in this final sector. Then comes out of the final corner absolutely flat, using all of the revs. Comes up to the line now. Where's Jana Watmir go? P4 on a 1:10.565. So that middle sector going to be the one that he needs to capitalise on. But it is very close across the board. Only one car has not set a time yet, and that is John Evans. But Otis Lawrence and Barry Burremand currently your provisional front row on a 1:10.4. Then you have another two cars on a 1:10.5, and then you have Freddie Rasmussen and Danny Berezne on a 1:10.6. Ronar also on a 1:10.6. And then everybody else very close behind, but not a representative time yet from Dylan Warren at the moment. But impressive showing from the youngster, the young Welshman Otis Lawrence, in front of the reigning champ Barry Burremand, and Wilson Hughes mixing it up there as well at the front end. But it's now the classic calm before the storm, the first shootout for pole in PSGL this season, the social race, of course. This isn't for any championship points or anything, but this is the first indication of who might be quick, who might be contenders, and in reality it's looking like it could be the young pretender.
Well, just to put a hypothetical point out there, Jack, say if we were to come to the end of this new season and Otis Lawrence was to become champion, he's not even old enough to race on the grid in F1 Esports. How much of an underscore, how much of an underline would that be to his stock as a future talent?
Well, I mean, at that point, if you're a team and you don't sign him, it's a bit silly, isn't it, to not have him lined up in a seat ready to go. But yeah, he's not even old enough to get through into F1 Esports. So by that reckoning, if he does win the championship, well, then we have to go with whoever comes second will probably win the F1 Esports title with that one. But again, long way to go until we get to that. We've got a full season coming up for you starting next week. Not hanging around here in PSGL, but the calm before the storm, 3:15 on the clock. It's time to get your predictions in, folks. Who's going to get pole? My tip is Otis Lawrence. Yeah, well, I tell you what, he's a favourite for it. Just to say as well, he is obviously not necessarily part of the grid order for next season in PSGL. Hasn't got a team lined up for it. Obviously, we do have a flock of reserves. Doesn't mean to say, though, he might not make an appearance. You know, it might be the case. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, being at the tender age that he is, of course, wasn't even old enough to compete in F1 Esports Challenges last season, still showed exactly what he's capable of. But nevertheless, in years to come, who knows, we could be seeing the best of Otis Lawrence in the fold as well. Let's wait and see. Obviously, still, we've got plenty of cars in the pit lane. Very soon, Danny Berezne will be the first to venture outwards. He's already out on his outlap and making his way around the first sector as well. Sit tight. We'll soon see him look to register his fastest lap, a 1:10.680 currently for Danny Berezne, the Hungarian, who is making a return to the Mercedes fold, driving the Haas today, but returning to Mercedes overall. And remember years gone by where he partnered Brendan Lee, of course, who bowed out in Q2 to obviously help him go on to win his second F1 Esports title under the Silver Arrows banner. And certainly Danny Berezne will be looking to try and add his name to the list as well. Was very much a favourite through the years to become a future champion. Has won races, of course, in the world of F1 Esports on many an occasion, and certainly would not be out of the question to deliver that
feet yet again. Let's wait and see whether he can enlist a top time, or at least maybe even come and win the social race. Let's sit tight and wait and see. Plenty though to come as they now venture around the Spanish track here for one final last chance to dance. Has Perezne got it in his locker, Jack?
Well, he's done it before. We'll see if he can put it together. He's got the first car to get over the line for the first pole position shootout of F123 on PSGL. Here he comes then over the start-finish line. We're going to be looking at the sector times like a hawk. Just one of the cars behind will be the first car. Following him will be Thomas Ronar in the Alfa Romeo. So let's see what they can do. He needs a big improvement though. He needs 2/10 to even challenge for pole. Big sort of moment coming out of turn 2 there. Not quite getting on the power as well as he would have liked. A little squirrely. Comes up to sector 1 there. The sector 1 split. How is it looking? He's already 200s down, and that'll be that moment. And Wilson Hughes has picked up a penalty for blocking already here. So that we'll have to serve that, unfortunately. So that's going to drop him down the order with that unfortunate blocking penalty for Wilson Hughes.
Another
He's
one.
obviously trying to get. Yeah, he's trying to get out of the way. He's got a car close behind him, but obviously it's registering that he's blocking him, which is very unusual. That's a big shame for him, but he's going to have to, unfortunately, going to have to serve that because we can't deal with that, unfortunately. But Danny Perezne, now quickest of all in the middle sector, to about 1700s up. So big improvements on the way, but that first sector will cost him.
Yeah, it certainly will do. Danny Perezne now heading through the final sector, now heading through turn 13, turn 14 as well. Now rounding New Holland, can Danny Perezne nail in a fast lap? Can he bring himself to the sharp end, to the top? P5 is all he can register. Not an easy lap at all for Danny Perezne, and plenty more on track. What's the latest news, Jack?
Ronar spun on the fast lap. He was quickest of all in the middle sector, but he's dropped it in the middle sector, and that's going to see him starting P7 or P6, and that's it for Thomas Ronar. He'll be disappointed with that. Just cut back to him coming out of the second to last corner, facing the wrong way. So again, that'll be disappointing for him. Alvaro Caraton, then the man who won the social last season, out of the final corner. What's he got in the locker? Crosses the start-finish line. P4 for Alvaro Caraton. Solid effort. Who's next now? Freddie Rasmussen, 800ths of a second up. What's he got? Is it pole for Rasmussen? No, it's P3. It goes to a 0.4 though. Crossing the line next, Otis Lawrence doesn't improve, but Barry Bourmand is improving. He's 400ths up. This will be enough to steal pole if he can keep it together out of the final corner. The reigning champ, has he got enough to steal pole for the first time? Yes, he does. A 10.344, finds a 10th of a second out of nowhere. Crossing the start-finish line. Wilson Hughes crossed the line. Now he goes P3. Who's next now? It'll be Jarno Watmere in just a few moments' time out of the final corner. What's he got? The three-time champ crosses the line. P3 for him at 10.458, and now that'll be it for qualifying. So it's Barry Bourmand who finds time a whole 10th of a second and takes pole position for the first time ahead of Otis Lawrence. Jarno Watmere P3, Wilson Hughes and Freddie Rasmussen all together in that top 5 with a couple of cars behind. Danny Perezne, John Evans, Dylan Warren and Thomas Ronar, who unfortunately dropped it on his fast lap. Well, reigning champ takes pole by quite some margin.
Yeah, it certainly does. A 1:10.344 ahead of that of Otis Lawrence. And again, some familiar names. Jarno Watmere up in the top 3. Wilson Hughes, a fantastic run, but he's going to be penalised with 2 grid penalties, which will surely hurt his prospects. But it's the return of the reigning champion here in PSGL. It's Barry Bourmand taking the very first pole position on a PSGL broadcast on the F123 game. It's Barry Bourmand on top, folks. A 1:10.344, enough to secure pole with Otis Lawrence in second. Jarno Watmere in third, Wilson Hughes in fourth. Soon, though, to be moved down. A 10-place grid penalty in total after 2 blocking penalties. Freddie Rasmussen in 5th, Alvaro Caraton in 6th, with Danny Perezne in 7th, John Evans in 8th. Good performance from John Evans, ahead of Dylan Warren as well, who's also been impressive. Thomas Ronar starting back in 10th place. So there we have it, Jack. That is the situation. That's what we've got. That's what's on the line. What do you think? What do you think surprised you the most? Obviously, I think Barry Bourmand showing the pace that we saw from last season. I suppose you could add that another big surprise, Thomas Ronar down in P10.
I think so, yeah. I mean, again, he was on an improvement, but just that did happen in the previous game as well, where he just pushed the limits too much coming through certain corners, and again, he always pushing for the absolute maximum, but unfortunately just a little bit too much that time. Dropped it coming out of the second to last corner. So he'll start P7. Now we will have the gridding up for the first time, and I think as well, it's a nice opportunity for us as well, because for once, we're not going to get dropped straight into the race. We actually get a formation lap to build up to it.
Yeah, we do. Obviously, the formation lap not a factor last season, but we have got it this season. So sit tight, everybody. We will be bringing you the racing action very, very shortly. Of course, we're just waiting for all the players to get ready for the start of this session. It's a very, very thrilling encounter. Great to have you all with us as well here at PSGL. We're just going to take a quick commercial brief break. It's a very short one, I promise. We'll be back now shortly. Well, welcome back, folks. And yes, we're just about to get ready for the start of this race now as the formation lap is about to get underway. Jack, can you give us your thoughts? Who do you think is going to take the victory here in the very first social event?
It's a tough one because, I mean, we haven't seen racing on this game yet. We don't know if it's going to be the same sort of formulaic, you know, nothing happens for the first half and then it all breaks loose later on. But, you know, it's hard to bet against Barry Boorman, isn't it? If he's out in control, he's a very hard man to beat. But he's got Otis Lawrence beside him, who's going to have a right go. Jarno Watmir as well, and Rasmussen. I think that's probably the spiciest second row you've got right there. You've got Jarno Watmir and Freddie Rasmussen on the same row of the grid. And you can't get much better than that. But you're going to be watching out for Wilson Hughes coming from 14th as well. He's going to be looking for some redemption and, well, plenty to keep your eyes on. So hard to pick a winner here. Just having a look at the tyre strat. Well, we've got some interesting ones. We've got everybody on hards, but I think the man to watch at the early phase, George, is going to be Jarno Watmir because he's decided to opt for medium tyres, as has Nicholas Longay. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Jarno Watmir, we have seen it time and time again with the alternate strat. Nicholas Longay joining him as well. And I certainly wouldn't write off the Ferrari driver. Of course, was part of that blistering Ferrari partnership with Barry Boorman towards the tail end of last season. We got to see it in motion. And it certainly was impressive. And now they've got to try and work together here once again to see if they can deliver yet another blistering result here in PSGL. Can it be business as usual for Barry Boorman? Let's wait and see. Otis Lawrence, though, will surely be breathing down his neck, opting for the same strategy on the hard tyres. Let us know in the live chat, folks. We want to hear from you. Who is winning this F1 social race here at PSGL? We want to hear from you. Let us know who our winner is going to be. Give us your opinion. We want to hear from you. Jake Benham and Fabrizio Donoso already disqualified at the very get-go. I tell you what, Benham hasn't had a lot of luck, has he, Jack? No, he hasn't. They've obviously been naughty down the back, so they've been sent to the grid straight away. So they're going to have some trouble with the tyre warm-up, of course. Manual grid setting as well. So these guys will be in control all the way up to the grid slots. They're all forming up now. For the first time, it's the social race, of course. So it's not for points, but it will be next week. So this is the first indication of who is going to be at the top of the pace. But reigning champ versus a one-time winner versus the three-time champ right behind. And Rasmussen, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Let's wait and see if he can do it from here. But it's all set to go, George. Here we go.
Here we go indeed, folks. Get ready. Here come the lights. 3 lights, 4 lights, and the 5th light. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Barry Boorman gets away well. Otis Lawrence in behind him too. They go near enough 3 wide, heading down towards turn 1. Otis not giving up though, not even an inch as they make their way into turn 1. Jarno Watmir with an absolutely almighty charge, heading through the first sector, and he's managed to get on top of Otis Lawrence. Enter Freddie Rasmussen as they come through the first sector now. I tell you what, a blistering start, a plethora of cars further back as Ronha looks to Dylan Warren. That old scrap is reigniting, Jack Kinnan.
It certainly is. Jarno Watmir using the medium tyres to good effect around the outside of turn 1, capitalised and got his way through. Longay had a brilliant start initially, but dropped back. He got forced wide out in turn 3, so he drops back to P12. But good starts overall. Boorman gets clear now, but Jarno chasing down the front car of Barry Borman. Longway makes up a place on Tom Manley, moves into P11. He was all the way up in P7 at one point, but drops down the order because of that little incident there as Manley goes side by side with Brendan Lee, who drops down a little ways now, but Borman getting the start he needed. Otis was quicker away in the initial part, but got the launch down towards turn 1, just about to stay enough in front of Jarno, sending it around the outside. P2 for him now, and it's going to be Freddie Rasmussen hunting the back of Otis Lawrence, but still plenty of time to go. Ronar challenging the back of Berezne down towards turn 1 here. This is all brand new territory for all of these guys as well, so we'll see now. This is going to be our first indication of what the race is going to be like.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Lap 1 now is in the bed. We have got lap 2 now dead ahead. It's Barry Burman leading the way. Jarno Watmere in second now. After that almighty start, Otis Lawrence looked to have a quicker getaway, but it did not work out for him. Thomas Ronhar now sat in 8th place in a sandwich between Danny Berejne and Dylan Warren, who was very much a headache for him last season. Of course, Dylan Warren did absolutely everything in order to try and give himself every opportunity at our very last event last season in PSGL. He's now making the climb up through towards Merth Curve. He's still trying to chase after Berejne, who's currently driving the Haas that, of course, Ronhar drove last season in F1 Esports, making their way down through towards the next left-hander. There you see the cars all in tandem, nothing between them. Still the gaps absolutely marginal. Pedreño as well, trying to urge closer as well to Brendan Lee, who's currently sat in 13th place after ushering in a very difficult run at the very start. He's lost a couple of places, obviously, as well, as they now look to mix things up. Remember, he started in P11 off the back of a tricky Q2 session. Round the final corner they go. Fastest laps are plenty. Freddie Rasmussen, the fastest man on track as well, as they make their way down through towards turn 1. Now Rasmussen looking to ask questions. We've also got Ronhar asking them too. They head down in towards turn 1. He looked to the right, could not find a way through. Maybe just warning Berejne there, Jack.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have a go now. DRS has enabled this lap, and everyone's really bunched up together still in this field. Everybody's still in the DRS train, apart from Wilson Hughes, is almost just about in. He had a bit of an issue earlier on and had a bit of a spin in the first corner, so he's going to now try to get back onto the back of Fabrizio Donoso to try and get away. But Barry Borman was not able to get away from Jarno Watmere on that opening exchange of the first 3 laps, because, of course, Jarno won those mediums, trying to make good use of them while he can. We'll keep an eye, because there's going to be, I think, plenty of moves made down the straight here, as Rasmussen looking really good behind Otis Lawrence as well. Otis holding his own there, P4. Carrots sticking on the back as well as they come down through the middle sector for the 3rd time of asking now. 33 laps go by in a flash around here in Spain. So Barry Borman now going to try and do everything, at least to try and hold track position. But Jarno, of course, on the alternate strategy, will want to try and make good use of these medium tyres early on. Comes out of the final corner now. DRS open on the Mercedes. Let's see how effective that DRS is down towards turn 1. He's in the tow, heading towards turn 1. Barry Borman not going to defend this one. Inside line for Jarno Watmere, and he takes the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix.
He does. Jarno Watmere now taking the early advantage. Needs to as well on the medium tyres. Now needs to break away from Barry Burman to show any certainly to at least nail in this run into fruition. Of course, this initial stint is going to be oh so vital for the Flying Dutchman. Needs to do just that here in the opening before the pit stop phase. Barry Burman still behind him though, just within 0.3 of a second. Dips just over that as well. We've got yellow flag in sector 2, Jack. What could be causing that?
Donoso, he had a spin in turn. There was something that happened there. Wasn't quite sure what happened, but Donoso was facing the wrong way, and he's got back going again now. So not the start that he would have wanted in Aston Martin here in the social race. But Jarno Watmere now leads, trying to break away from Barry Borman, and is sort of succeeding. Oh, he's actually under pressure now. Is Barry Borman from Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen, and just behind as well. Just keep in mind everybody behind. John Evans, tell you what, he's hanging on well to this top 5 here. Carroton going with them as well as they come out of the final corner now. Borman losing touch with Jarno Watmere now as they come out of the final corner. Who is going to make a move here? Otis Lawrence getting a little bit squirrely out of the final corner as they head down towards turn 1. Maybe no moves made here, but Rasmussen actually coming out of the slipstream. Doesn't want to catch up to these guys, but also showing himself in the mirrors here. But Jarno breaking away now. These guys being very, very patient behind as they head through now. But Jarno, he is on the alternate strategy, so Barry's not too worried, but he doesn't want to let him get away too fast. Ideally stay in that DRS, but again, tough to ask when you're on the hards versus the mediums in this early stage. Yeah,
absolutely. I think obviously if you're on the hard tyres, you want to play the long game. You need to know that later on, that is when you need to click. And naturally, Freddie Rasmussen just being patient. Obviously, he's known to be a great grand executor when it comes to making the big moves, and also at the same time whittling down race strategy. It's all about patience, and that's exactly what Rasmussen's doing. Sat in 4th place, just in behind that of Otis Lawrence. Barry Burman starting to tail off from Jarno Opmeer. Now that gap flittering in between a second. And I tell you what, it means that you won't have that vital DRS that will keep Otis Lawrence in behind him as well. And I tell you what, it might not be long before Otis Lawrence decides to take up the running here. If Jarno Opmeer can keep applying this pressure, that will, of course, alleviate, should we say, the danger that Barry Burman could cause later on. Let's wait and see as they head down the long straight. Opmeer has indeed taken the fastest lap of the race so far. Otis Lawrence now looking to make a charge perhaps on Barry Burman as they make their way in towards turn 1. There's Lawrence there on your screen, still chasing after the Ferrari. Barry Burman still holding on to second. He's yet to be usurped, but still dangerously flickering between that second gap.
Yeah, he is. He's a danger now. Doesn't have the benefit of DRS through that last sector. So if Otis gets it and closes up to him in that final sector, he's going to be basically defenseless down towards the first corner. So he needs to make good use of the battery. If he does manage to save it up through this part, use it up going out of that last corner just to build a small enough gap or a big enough gap that you could just keep yourself in front even with that DRS. So gap is just over a second from Jarno Opmeer to Barry Burman, 1.1 now, so of course the extra grip on those medium tyres for the moment, keeping him in front. No move is being made, of course, as would be expected. Quite formulaic, these races you would expect as they come through the second to last corner in just a few moments now. Otis, I don't think he's going to be close enough to try anything here as he comes out of the second to last corner into the last corner now. Barry will not have DRS, of course. And Otis, I think, just being patient here. Doesn't want to make a move too early on here as they head down towards turn number 1. You'll see how much the DRS will close him up. He was 4 tenths back. He's going to be about 2 tenths back at the end. So he needs to be right on his tail. About 4 tenths of a second he would expect before he can actually make a move or even attempt to move 3 or 4 tenths back. Yeah, absolutely right. Now we're watching Otis Lawrence still. He still remains 3 tenths in behind that of Barry Burman or of the Realm. So we're seeing them all still tied up here. Lap 7 of 33. Still very early days. Yet to see the pit stops, you won't see them for a little bit. Only 6 laps accrued on each of the compounds, of course. 2 cars on the mediums, Opmeer being one of them. Nicholas Longa, another man who needs to start making some moves, I'd imagine. He might have to start thinking about what he does during the strategy, should he want to try and enlist himself right to the top. Or will he bring himself out and play the team game with Burman? If he doesn't consider himself in the fight, it might be a chance for him to kind of just help his teammate out, sit out and get himself set. As you can just see there, look at Otis Lawrence, near enough pushing Barry Burman along, and Freddie Rasmussen wasn't far away either as they now make their way through Bank Sambadel. The Red Bull looking ever so dangerous as they enter turn 13, now in towards turn 14. Still Opmeer with the advantage, though Barry Burman does have the vital DRS as well. The rear end flicking out on Otis's car as Freddie Rasmussen might be in enough of a slipstream here to make a move. He does go out wide, actually breaking away from that slipstream, doesn't want to get any closer, stays in behind the McLaren. Again, that patience shining through as Brendan Lee now looks to make a move on Tom Manley, who is now fighting away with Ruben Petreno. Petreno moves up to 13th place. Yeah, I tell you what, Barry really closed into Jarno that time. I think Jarno had a bit of an error coming through. You can see the backlight flashing on Jarno Opmeer's car, so that's showing that he's low on battery power, so he's going to have to try and recharge that up again. Barry's on 24%, 14% for our race leader, Otis Lawrence. He's got about 84, and Fred's got an absolute full tank as he comes out of this fast right now. Freddie Rasmussen looking absolutely menacing in behind Otis Lawrence right now, but again, you can expect this man to be patient. He will wait for his opportunity. So now Opmeer in a bit of trouble here again. Freddie's looking at Otis Lawrence coming up through the right-hander here. Not quite close enough. I think this could get spicy coming out of the final corner here. If anybody's going to make a move, it's surely going to be Freddie Rasmussen. He's super close to the back of Otis Lawrence out of the final corner now. Carroton watching and waiting in the wings as well. Down the long straight they come now. You can see Lawrence on the battery using it up down towards turn 1, but not quite enough to pull alongside. But Jarno now needs to try and recharge because Barry's right with them, and this again, these mediums, it's a good way, I suppose it's good that it's a social, but so far this has not worked for Jarno Wotmir at all.
Yeah, and a big error there from Freddie Rasmussen as he runs off at turn 1, and that opens up the door for Karaton, who now looks to try and launch a charge. Of course, winner of last year's social, now looks to try and challenge the Great Dane in the Red Bull as they now make their way through, out to the next right-hander, through towards the seat curve out of Repsol, and there you can see them all close together. The gap's now marginalised yet again. Freddie Rasmussen with a very good recovery, heading through turn 1. He ran over the sausage curve. It could have been oh so dangerous for him. Karaton did eye him up heading through the first sector, wasn't quite able to make that move. No dice for Alvaro Karaton, but he will wait and continue onwards. He hasn't broken or lost DRS as now they make their way down through towards the next left now through Lakea, then climbing up the hill through Bank Sambadel in the final sector. Wotmir still leads them round as now we see Barry Burman in behind, still managing to stay within DRS as well. Plenty of action still to come. Sit tight, folks.
Certainly do, yeah. Otis Lawrence super close to Barry Burman this time by. He has got the advantage of extra battery, but again is not able to use it just yet. You can see him down the straight, just not doesn't want to make a move just yet, so nobody trying to do it. Barry Burman is also being super patient behind Jarno Wotmir at the moment. Of course, this may come back to Jarno later on when he switches onto those fresh, hard compound tyres. He would imagine that he's going to go onto, or he'll at least get track position later on. But is going through the pain now. We'll see what he can do later on. But it's good. It's a good indicator of what not to do, maybe, or what may or may not work. Good place to try it here in the Soul Stories at PSGL. But everybody still in the DRS train, down to Rupert Pedreño in P13. Jake Benham then on his own with the rest of the grid essentially behind him. Lap 10 of 33. It's still Jarno in P1 on the mediums. Barry Burman P2. Otis Lawrence sits in 3rd. Rasmussen sits in P3. Then it's Karaton on P5. John Evans sitting nicely in P6. Bresnay following behind. Then Thomas Ronard, Dylan Warren, and Ishmael Fassi rounding out the top 10. So let's wait and see what happens now. You'd imagine, obviously, Jarno probably going through the wars at the moment on those medium tyres, but still, he's doing enough to stay in front for the moment, hold track position. Burman not too keen on passing him just yet. Of course, he does have the problem of Otis Lawrence right behind him, but 0.4 of a second now. The gap as they cross the line, really closing up towards turn 1 this time. Does he decide to go for it now? No, he lifts off and waits. So he's quite happy to sit behind and continue saving the batteries. Lawrence goes a bit wide at turn 1. Burman gets a bit loose as well, loses a bit of time as he comes through turn number 2. Lawrence would have seen that, think about it, but again, I don't think he's going to try and make that move just yet. But Burman, being super patient behind, knows he has the tyres, and again, he has to watch out for this young man behind him.
Certainly does. Of course, we saw Freddie Rasmussen do a very similar thing on the previous lap, running off wide at turn 1. Barry Burman doing exactly the same. Otis Lawrence perhaps the more extreme of the pair as well. And it's brought Rasmussen up close and personal once again as they make the climb out of Verth Curve. Of course, the handling model changing on the game in comparison to last year's edition. And now it's a new game to get used to, a new challenge, but many of the drivers vocaling positively about how much they're enjoying it, about how much better it truly is. And Jarno Wotmir currently using it to his advantage to lead this race on the medium tyre. He will be the first to box, without any shadow of a doubt. Nicolas Longuet, I'm sure, will be one of the two as well. Obviously, them being on the only 2 medium tyre compounds currently on the timing screen right now. Wotmir currently leading, though, as they make their way around the final corner once again round New Holland. Barry Burman in behind, opening up that DRS with Otis Lawrence in behind as well. Freddie Rasmussen in the mix too, with Alvaro Karaton in behind too. Is now another look this time from Burman, who gets very close to the back of Jarno Wotmir this time around. Now, is this the time? Are we reaching the crossover point? Have the mediums pretty much exhausted their potential? Could it be the case that we could see more now from the hard tyres? Is this the beginning of the switch? It's all on Wotmir now. Will he choose to box soon enough? Let's wait and see. 33 laps in total. Remember, folks, we've bitten in to 12 of them already. Let's wait as they now make their way down through towards the Verth Curve now. The uphill climb. Barry Burman in behind, looking to try and unlock something. Rasmussen still on the tail of Otis Lawrence in 4th place.
Certainly is. Rasmussen is in the best shape at the moment. He's almost got a full charge of battery. Closing up to the rear of Otis Lawrence. Has a little look going into the left-hander. Forces him a tiny bit wide going through the corner there, so that will leave him sort of without an opportunity. But Barry Burman is using this now to just charge his battery. He was down low on battery level, but is happy to sit behind Jarno Wotmir and just recharge that ERS so he can at least try and defend from Otis Lawrence if he does come attacking, and he'll come down the start-finish straight once again. You'll see him close up, but I don't know if he's going to bother going for the move here. Comes up towards turn 1. Does he go for it now? No, again, sits behind. He's very happy to sit there and charge up that ERS. So patient display from Barry Borman, but you have to say impressive from Jarno to be holding on here despite the disadvantage in the tyres right now. Borman could be past if he wanted to, but Jarno's holding his own up there, people.
Yeah, it certainly is. Barry Borman still chasing after him, and as you can see, working hard to the steering wheel, trying to get in as tight as he can to every single apex as he now makes his way out of the C curve. There's Jarno Watmere in the distance as Barry Borman sets sail after him, heading up through the first curve now and making their way through the very, very fast Campsa corner as they whip round turn 9. DRS opens up now for Barry Borman as they hurtle down towards the Lakea bend, braking at the 100 as well as they now swoop through the next lap too. Oh, what's the latest, Jack?
Rasmussen's got through on Lawrence with a big move on the inside. He's through. Great move from Freddie Rasmussen. Saw the gap, went for it. Lawrence went through on the we let him go on the inside with the space, but Rasmussen on the attack now, fancied it and went for it, and he sits P3 now.
Yeah, it certainly does. Great move there from Rasmussen. Moves himself up a spot ahead of the young pretender, Otis Lawrence, who's been sensational right through qualifying as they make their way down through towards turn 1. Barry Burman would have seen Rasmussen make the move. It's Burman now back into the lead this time as now he usurps that of Jarno Watmere. The Flying Dutchman now sits in behind that of Barry Burman, the rapidly fast Iranian champion of last season, now leads the social here in lap 14.
Absolutely, yeah, he saw Rasmussen going for the move and decided this is my chance now to try and get away. So Rasmussen will try to go with Borman now, needs to make the move on Otmere as quickly as possible if he needs to try and stay with our race leader now. Borman going to try and get away as much as possible, but Rasmussen still in a good position here. Is in front of Lawrence and is super strong in this second sector. This is where he did it last lap, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to do it on Otmere this time. Otmere trying to stick with Barry Borman as much as possible. Through the middle sector, goes a bit wide though, nearly was into the back of him there, and Rasmussen's going to be right on him now as they come out of the second to last quarter, and surely now he's going to be thinking about the pit lane in a few moments time. Can see those tyres starting to go away for him as he heads out of the second to last quarter. Going to try and hang on now, but Rasmussen is surely going to get himself through as they come out of the final corner now. Rasmussen DRS open, Otmere will try and get in front as well, down towards turn 1. Here comes Freddie Rasmussen, here comes Jarno Otmere. This could go 3 wide towards turn 1. It will go 3 wide for just a moment, and he has to back off going through there. Otmere back around the outside. Rasmussen trying to find room side by side through turn 2. Lawrence up alongside Rasmussen. Borman hangs on. Lawrence trying to hang around the outside. They remain as they were as they came through turn 1. There's a contact and Borman's in the wall. He's out of the race. Borman's out. He's out of the race. Contact made and out of the race goes Barry Borman. Safety car is deployed.
Safety car deployed after a 3 wide scramble heading through the first sector. They came together heading through the Renault corner, and on the outset Barry Burman, the oversteer, a little tap in the rear no less when they came together, and Jarno Otmere now sits in the helm, sits in the lead with Rasmussen in behind. A massive moment here in lap 15. I mean, how do you describe that, Jack? How do you put that down on paper? Burman, last season's champion, out of the race.
Oh, that's good. Already. It almost has Hamilton Rosberg vibes coming through there. I think there was a tiny bit of rear to front wing contact, and round went Barry Borman into the wall. But what that does mean, Jarno gets a free pit stop now on these medium tyres. He's going to come straight into the pit, and this will give him a free pit stop on these mediums. Everybody else will surely follow him in, but that gives him immediate track position. And if you're Nicholas Longa, you're furious right now. He just came into the pits on the previous lap, and if he'd waited 1 lap longer, he'd have had a free pit stop. But unfortunately, that is how the cookie crumbles. But onto the hards goes Otmere. Of course, he'll be on the hards. Everybody else will be on the mediums. So now it'll be a case of can those mediums hang on? But either way, Jarno Otmere will have track position, and that is so key in this race. Out he comes in the lead, and Otis Lawrence has actually now managed to jump Rasmussen in the pit lane, so Rasmussen will not be very happy with that.
No, and Lawrence can utilise this now. Medium tyres. How dramatic could this be? The young man, Otis Lawrence, a potential upset on the cards. He could yet find himself taking the race win in the social. Should he stay right on the tail of one Flying Dutchman? Jarno Otmere now leads the way and holds on to the lead of the race, at least for now. Subject now to the end of the race, given the fact the safety car is now out. Barry Burremand is certainly looking like now, unfortunately, now that he's out of the race, there will be no repeat or return victory to the championship. Certainly he is starting in the social, but nevertheless, safety car conditions. And I tell you what, maybe it's a good thing we didn't have red flags on, because obviously, given the fact that we know that they're not quite ready yet, given the fact that, you know, the extent of that crash, Jack, that no doubt would have been a red flag.
Yeah, I think so. With the sensitivity of the red flags, you'd imagine there's a little bit of swapping and changing going on there behind the safety car here. As I think Otis Lawrence was in the main menu, or in his menus, dropped behind Freddie Rasmussen for a moment, had all sorts of stuff out. So now, this is interesting. Everybody else is on mediums. Jarno Opmeer is on the hard compound tyre. So we've seen because of Jarno starting on them, we've seen the drop off on those mediums. So in reality, Jarno needs to be patient here. You would expect Otis Lawrence to jump in front of him immediately, but if he can stick with them like Barry Burremand did, you would expect things to be right here. But it is interesting nonetheless. Safety car immediately, and already drama. Jarno Opmeer colliding with Barry Burremand at Spain. I mean, this is setting up to be an interesting one. But some guys we haven't mentioned: Alvaro Carreton, always there. He's up there in Top 5 now for John Evans. He's stuck in there. He's in the top 5 and is not there by luck. I mean, he's there on pure pace. He's there on merit, Jack. John Evans returning to the sharp end. I mean, look at this, swapping around between Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen. How extraordinary is this partnership here? Obviously, Freddie perhaps just putting in a little bit of mind games to the table across that of his counter, well, certainly his competitor Otis Lawrence. These two have certainly come together already in the initial start of this race. We, of course, have seen a few duels here and there, but Jarno Opmeer leading the charge. Carreton, though, how about a winning return? I'm sure he would welcome that after winning the social last year. John Evans back into the top 5 as well. Danny Berejne in 6th with Thomas Ronhaar 7th, who's managed to move himself up the order. Dylan Warren as well, still in the top 10. Nicholas Longay, who has boxed onto the hard tyres, now sits in P9. Has a lot of work to do, though, because plenty of these cars out on medium tyres. He's going to have to put in one serious shift at this point. 5-second penalty going to Fabrizio Donoso due to severe collision with Marcel Kiefer. So the penalty's being dished out left, right and centre. The safety car in this lap. Jack, where do you see this going? Well, I'm expecting Jarno to not fight too hard here. Again, you've got the guys on the fresh mediums behind, but let's wait and see. Because, well, he controlled the race very well from the front earlier, but look at the amount of backing up here from Jarno Opmeer, really slowing these guys up. How early or how late will he go? We've seen guys in F2 and F3 go from about here, and, well, how about that? Straight away out of that last corner he goes. Jarno Opmeer gets us back underway after the safety car. Otis Lawrence will chase him down on those fresh mediums as well, and we will wait and see. Now he's going to attack immediately on the overtake button down towards turn number 1. Rasmussen going to try follow as well, but Otis Lawrence straight away to the back to the lead on the medium tyres and goes to the front here. Rasmussen sits behind. He's going to be stuck behind for now, but Otis Lawrence retakes the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's pedal to the metal for the second time in this Grand Prix now, folks. Otis Lawrence leads the way. Jarno Opmeer in second. Freddie Rasmussen now, who's also on medium tyres, same as Otis, might choose to challenge the Flying Dutchman here and now in lap 18 as they make their way through towards the next right now. There you see the Red Bull in behind. Alvaro Carreton bringing himself into the fight. Almost vintage Carreton, who we used to see years gone by battling with the likes of Opmeer, Rasmussen, as well as many of the others, including that of Danny Berejne, who's also in the top 10 too. They whip through Kamsa at turn 9. There you see in the background, there's Opmeer's rear wing with Rasmussen trying to close up in behind as well with the DRS opened up. Well, the DRS not active just yet, but still right in the slipstream nonetheless. They make the climb up through Bank San Bedell through the next right. Now peeling shortly, heading through Europcar and soon to be the New Holland corner. Lawrence still leads. Opmeer in behind. Rasmussen smelling blood here at this point might choose to open up the door and try and lay down a foundation of attack to that to Otis Lawrence, who has just taken the fastest lap of the race. He's cruising. Rasmussen now looking to launch a charge. Will he have a look down the inside into turn 1? Not quite, but he's right on the rear wing of Jarno Opmeer as they peel through turn 3.
Yeah, this is exactly what Jarno needs to do. Just stick in there, because we've seen the drop off of the medium tyres. We saw how much they degraded on his car, so he's sitting pretty right now in P2. If he can hold that position and stay within the DRS of Otis Lawrence, the rest of these guys are going to have a big task ahead of them to try and outscore him here, because he's in a good position holding on to those hard compound tyres. So let's wait and see how this goes, but he needs to stick in there with Otis Lawrence. Otis needs to try and get himself out of DRS here, but Rasmussen, if anything, he's got to get by here. Got to try and get through. Otis did the right thing to attack early on and try and get that track position, but Rasmussen now stuck behind that car of Jarno Wotmir. The other car we probably need to keep our eyes on, the other car that's on the hards, is Nicholas Longay. Now remember, he pitted just before the safety car came out, so he's on those hard compound tyres as well, and we will see those mediums drop off, so watch out for Longay later on and see how many positions he can probably gain. But now, coming out of the final corner, we'll see if Rasmussen can try and do anything here. DRS will be enabled at the next DRS, so it's not enabled yet, but it is enabled on this lap, but Rasmussen has not been able to get up alongside, and Ronar is now looking at Danny Beresne, but not enough to get alongside. So this is exactly where Jarno needs to be. He's sitting pretty on those hards.
Yeah, it certainly is. Ronar did have a little look on Danny Beresne heading in towards turn 1. Opted against it though, but currently sat in P7, unable to get past out of the Haas, who is certainly marking a successful return. Obviously returning to the Mercedes outfit, and now back in the world of league racing as well, representing here in PSGL, driving the Haas as well in this series as they now make their way heading up the next left at Firth Curve. Still Lawrence out in front with Wotmir in behind. Of course, Freddie Rasmussen also locked into third place as they now peeled through the very, very fast high-speed Kamsa corner, and now deep dive down the straight. The back straight heading in towards the Lakea bend. There you can see there Beresne dead ahead of Thomas Ronhar, who looked a little better heading up in towards Bank Sabadell. Dylan Warren also coming into the mix. These two still cemented together at this point as they now whip through round on lap 20, soon to be lap 21, as Otis Lawrence takes them around on another lap again. Can Ronhar this time once again try and push this time? Remember, he got close last time to Beresne. Once again trying to launch a charge down the straight. I think Beresne might have a better straight line set up, because he's managing to build the gap again, loses it slightly around the final corner, but Ronhar not quite able to do enough down the long straight in order to unlock a major result as he now whip through out of turn 2 and turn 3 in towards turn 4. Still no move for Ronhar, but they're getting almightily close, Jack.
They certainly are, and it's interesting to see Dylan Warren right by Thomas Ronhar. Remember, these two have history from last season as well. Remember Longay chasing Ronhar down in the last round as well. So Longay chasing Ronhar down in the final round as well. So plenty of history behind him, but he's sitting P7 behind Danny Beresne. So DRS is enabled. We'd imagine now Otis Lawrence, he will not be pushing. He'll be trying to look after those tyres out front. But again, Jarno has stuck with them big time. Done exactly what he needs to do, but Rasmussen, he is desperate to get by on this time by. But again, the problem is Jarno's got DRS to the car in front and now can use that to save ERS, but Rasmussen is super close to him out of the second to last corner, a tenth of a second back. He's got to go on the attack now, you've got to think, as he comes out of the final corner. He's on the overtake button down towards turn 1, but Jarno now defending with that ERS. He's also got the DRS overcharge as well, heads towards turn 1, but he's not going to go for it. He will not sit by, but Rasmussen might pounce here on the inside of turn number 1. Wotmir sees him coming. Outside line for Rasmussen for the second part of the turn. They leave each other room. Through turn number 2 they go. Rasmussen just about nips through on the inside. Brilliant driving from the Dane. Saw Wotmir was not going to go for it and went through when he had the opportunity. Rasmussen moves to P2.
Fantastic move from Rasmussen, managing to dish the dirt. Already heading in towards turn 1. They came very close. Jarno not choosing to make the overtake on Otis Lawrence, but it made him defenseless against Freddie Rasmussen, the Great Dane. He certainly wasn't going to miss his chance and open the door into turn 1 at Elf Curve, and now it's proven to be successful for him. He's on the medium tyres and he can use them to his advantage. They're only 6 laps old, and with only 11 laps still to go, there's a huge opportunity now for Freddie Rasmussen to eventually perhaps nail down a position. Is there something wrong with Pedreño here, Jack?
Ran wide, just coming through the left-hander there, dropped down 2 positions as well. Crucial move now. Longay's got in front of Dylan Warren, and remember these guys have just moved on to the medium, so Longay now moving through the field on the hards, trying to make use of them now. He was pitted about a lap before Wotmir did, and of course they were under safety car for that entire distance as well. So now it's Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen. Here comes Carroll on the attack on Wotmir. Round turn number 1, can't quite get alongside, but he's in trouble now. The mediums are in a good window right now. but of course those hards will come back to him later. Just needs to try and maintain as much track position as he can. John Evans is watching and waiting behind Caraton as well as they come through turn number 4 for the 23rd time of asking, but it is heating up at the front. They got Otis Lawrence out in the lead from Freddie Rasmussen, from Jarno Wotmere, from Caraton, from John Evans, all the way down to the end of the field here, all in the DRS train. Differing strategies going on here, but there is plenty going on. But Caraton, I mean, he's always there and he's always causing a nuisance for the top guys here.
Yeah, fantastic display of pace from John Evans as well to hold on to the rear of Alvaro Caraton. They came together very nearly nose to tail. A little bit squirrely as well, heading in towards the seats as Evans nearly tried to take evasive action. Of course, he was just watching and waiting to see what Caraton would do, as now they venture through the final sector now. It's still Otis Lawrence out in front. Rasmussen now holding on to P2 with Wotmere in third as well. Further back then Caraton, who looks very dangerous as well as they whip through the final corner. This time Rasmussen now still looking to probe. He's looking to chase as now they make their way down through towards turn 1 at Elf Curve. Rasmussen now looking to plump for the move. They go side by side. The Great Dane moves himself into the lead of the race. It's Rasmussen! Rasmussen's race here at Spain. He leads here in the social for the first time in lap 24. The Red Bull hits the front. Is he no longer the bridesmaid? He might be the bride, Jack Canan.
It's been a while since we've seen Freddie Rasmussen take the lead of the race here at PSGL, but he's up the front now for the first time. Lap 24 of 33. We're running out of laps here in Spain, so it's anybody's guess how this is going to end. We've got the whole field down in a DRS train right here as well. Jarno on the hard compound tyres, Nicholas Longe on the hard compound tyres as well. Everybody else is on the mediums, but I tell you what, these guys are hungry to try and go for it here. Rasmussen leads, Otis Lawrence in second, Jarno Wotmere third, Alvaro Caraton in P4, and John Evans in P5, so there is still plenty to play for. But now, how does Rasmussen manage this out in front in this race now? He needs to try and get away from Lawrence if he can at all.
He's pushing.
Of course, he is pushing. You see the attitude of the car coming through the top of the hill right there. Manages to hang on to it, but of course Lawrence now maybe struggling a small bit here. He drops a tiny bit back, but that DRS will help him stay in front. Wotmere now moving out of the slipstream, doesn't want to get too close to the rear. Lawrence looks on Rasmussen, but not quite enough. I tell you what, that DRS is powerful as Longe moving through, moves in front of Ronar. So Longe on those hards, that's working well on that Ferrari.
Yeah, we've also got Ruben Pedreño and Brendan Lee coming together. Oh goodness me! Pedreño! We rode on board with him. We didn't see what happened. Unfortunately, we did not get the window, but coming together, Tom Manley picking up a 3-second time penalty, but Ruben Pedreño coming a cropper, and I'm looking to see if there's any damage on Brendan Lee's car. They were together, but I don't think there was. Maybe a loss of grip, maybe a little bit of understeer, but Pedreño now losing out majorly in that fracas, and now sees himself drop down the order.
Yeah, a bit of a shame there. I didn't quite catch what happened there. Just caught the end of the contact, or what we think is contact, but that's a shame for Ruben Pedreño, the newly signed Alpine Esports F1 driver. So we will see how he gets on in this season. Well, it is only a social, but Danny Perezde is on this big charge. He's all over the back of John Evans, coming through the second to last corner. I think Perezde might be on the attack here. He's got 92% DRS here. It's going to be really a case of when he's going to go through rather than if. Here he comes, Danny Perezde trying to get in front of John Evans, but John Evans using all that battery to try and stay in front and stay with Caraton as Otis Lawrence retakes the lead up the front as they swap position.
Yeah, they certainly are getting closer and closer towards the end. Otis Lawrence decided to take the advantage away from Freddie Rasmussen here now on lap 26 of 33. We've got only a mere few laps left. We're into single digits, and it's Lawrence now in front. The young pretender, too young for F1 Esports, too young for challengers. He is now leading the race here in the social at PSGL. Fabrizio Donoso taking the fastest lap as well to boot, as now he looks to try and advance his charge, currently two, though further back in P19 with a lot of work to do. Lawrence still leads though. Rasmussen waiting, just waiting with great patience, as he has done all race long. He took the lead briefly on the previous lap, but this time it's Lawrence. But just look at Rasmussen, he is still there and ready to combat that of the young man in the McLaren.
Certainly is. He's got to try it. It's going to be very hard to keep this Danish guy behind you, Otis, but he's going to be giving it a good go here as they cross over to begin. Lap 27 of 33. Rasmussen, I think, will easily take the lead here. I don't think Otis is going to fight him here. DRS open. Round he goes. Rasmussen will retake it. No problem at all. Otis lets him have it as they head towards turn number 1. No issues there. Freddie Rasmussen back to the lead. These guys not fighting each other, because if they do, that will bring Jarno Wotmere back into contention here. Caraton chasing slowing down Jarno Watmere as well as they come round turn number 2 and turn number 3. But Otis is not letting Freddie Rasmussen get away from it at all. He's giving him a right good challenge here. Lap 27 of 33. How will these mediums hang on towards the end? They look like they're hanging on pretty well at the moment, but again, we have seen them. They could fall off that cliff.
Yeah, could well do. John Evans getting very close to the back of Caraton as well. We're just joining this sort of mid top 10 fight, because you've got Berezne there in behind as well, who's literally pushing Evans now through Campsa corner, the high-speed section, though. Evans having enough in the straights, goes defensive, heading down through towards the Caeras there. Berezne had a little look down the inside as they make their way through the final sector now, heading up through back Sambadel and heading through the next right, and very soon round the final 2 corners here on lap 27, soon to start lap 28, and Rasmussen now leading the way with Otis Lawrence in behind as well. Again, Berezne very close to the back of John Evans again this time. No doubt Lawrence is going to look to trade off again this time with Rasmussen too. Yet again they go side by side, another switcheroo. It's Lawrence on top here this time and does take the lead here in 28, lap 28 should I say. In behind now Rasmussen will wait surely and hold on and try and allow and open up a door yet again. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, you can see John Evans in a bit of trouble at the moment, flashing. Danny Berezne has got 67%, so I can sense a move from Berezne coming very, very soon. And we'll see if he's going to be able to make that move stick. He's got to watch Longue behind him as well as on the hards as well. He's been making them work very, very well on that Ferrari and pitted around the same time as Jarno did. So he'll be, of course, very angry that the safety car came out when it did. He could have made up a lot more positions, but it is what it is. He's back inside the top 5, but I could sense Berezne probing at the back of John Evans here, but again, just has enough in the moment. But I sense very, very soon this will be a move for Danny Berezne to get himself into P5. I don't think John Evans has got much to answer with here. 14% ERS plays, 70% ERS. You can expect a change at the front as well with Freddie Rasmussen and Otis Lawrence. They will probably swap again as they come through, but there will, I think, be a swap position here. Here comes Danny Berezne on John Evans as they head towards turn number 1 here. Evans going defensive, nothing he can do though. Here comes Berezne. Rasmussen retakes the lead out the front as you would expect, and Berezne will go into P5 here for the moment. Yes, he does, gets clear, moves into P5, and now possibly a danger man. Let's watch him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's starting to close up on Caraton as well for the lead. Rasmussen now back in front as he was before, swapping places with Otis Lawrence lap after lap. At this point here in lap 29 now, 33, we're coming down to the final echelons of this race. Jarno Watmere letting it all unfold as well. Remy Pedreño just setting the fastest lap of the race on brand new soft tyres, of course, coming in after that crash that we saw earlier on. But now as the cars make their way up through towards the Wirth curve and make the almighty climb, heading through towards Campsa. Still Rasmussen on top, in behind as well Lawrence, who currently sits in second with Jarno Watmere in third place. Alvaro Caraton waiting in the wings too with Berezne, fresh after the overtake on John Evans in 6th spot. And certainly as they make their way, heading through the next right, obviously Nicolas Longue also in the mix as well. Has had a pretty well-run race as well. You've got to consider that Longue had his own adversities earlier on, has actually gained places and made his way up into the strong parts, I suppose, of the top 10, Jack.
Certainly has. I think he's going to get a free position on John Evans. Well, John has got nothing to answer with. You'd expect a swap at the front again between Otis Lawrence and Freddie Rasmussen. Not this time though, but here comes Nicolas Longue on John Evans around the outside of turn 1. Will he have room? Just about has to run off the road. Will not have the space to work with. John Evans hangs on for now, but that might drop them out of DRS here if they're not careful. But Ronar might fancy a go back at Longue. No way through though, but Longue I think was just enough alongside their contact through the corner. Had a lunge on the inside. Evans saw him coming last minute there. Surely a look at the inside coming now. Evans leaves him just enough room there on the inside and nothing more. But Longue gets sideways on the exit again, forces his way through, and look out for Dylan Warren on the inside as well as they fight their way through contact through the corner. Evans is not giving him an inch here as they come up the hill, but this third last time they're side by side by side, 2 by 2 like in Noah's Ark, up to the fast right-hander. Here comes Dylan Warren, no room to work with, has no room on the inside. He might get 2 places here. Here comes Ronar from absolutely nowhere round the outside. Longue tries to hold on, gets P6 in the end, and Ronar now side by side with Dylan Warren through the middle sector. We got a car around. That's Denoso, I think, who's got. Sorry, Ruben Pedreño was slow through there, but Ronar comes through on the inside. Absolutely crazy. There's only 3 laps to go. Rasmussen leads from Otis Lawrence from Jarno Watmere now as they head towards turn 1, but Otis will retake that lead now. But you sort of sense Jarno is watching and waiting in the wings as now Ronar retakes the position on Longue. But you can see Otmir's in good position here, 90% DRS, and he's closing on the front two.
He certainly is. A massive moment indeed. Ronha managing to dispatch Nicholas Longe after the fracas we saw on the previous lap. They're coming together again, though, as now Dylan Warren comes under pressure from the all-star Jake Benham, who now moves ahead now in the AlphaTauri. The Mercedes Esports driver now moves himself into 8th place, chasing after Nicholas Longe as well. This social event has kicked off almightily. Now with only a couple of laps still to go, as now they peel on up the hill through Verth Curve, very shortly through Campsa as well. Dylan Warren not going to give chase as now they open up the DRS, heading down now towards this next left, and still not able to get close to Dylan Warren to fight back against that of Jake Benham. But once again, we could be seeing the tie-up between the top two. Remember, of course, Rasmussen and Lawrence coming together, swapping places. We could yet see some more as they enter the final corner now. Soon to begin lap 32 of 33, penultimate lap of the race. Rasmussen teeing up an advantage, a potential advantage. Side by side again. Otmir also in the mix. Surely not 3 wide into turn 1. It's Otmir. Otmir now looking to charge. He's in second place. An almighty opportunistic move. He got the drag, the slipstream, the DRS, keyed it all into one and made a crucial overtake and has split the two drivers on the medium tyres in the top 3. Sensational, Jack.
He wanted to do exactly what Freddie did to him a couple of laps ago and almost made it work, as there's been an issue for Jake Benham. Yes, there has. It's been contact between himself and Longe. They're dropping down the order now, but we've got to stick with our front two now for the win. How many times have we seen these two go wheel to wheel for the victory? Freddie Rasmussen versus Jarno Otmir for the victory here in the PSGL social race. It can't get any better than this. Otis Lawrence is in the mix as well, but it's pure on-track pace now that will decide this. Has Freddie got enough in those mediums to try and stave off the attack of Jarno Otmir? It's going to be very, very difficult. Everything's happening behind now, but it's Freddie Rasmussen versus Jarno Otmir with 1 lap to go here in Spain. Out of the last corner, they're going to dump everything they've got now. Here comes Jarno Otmir with the DRS open. Rasmussen has got nothing to answer with towards turn number 1. There's nothing he can do. Jarno Otmir goes through on the inside, and he'll have to bide his time now. Jarno Otmir takes the lead with just 1 lap to go.
He certainly does. Jarno Otmir, the Flying Dutchman, back this time on F123, looking to try and get himself prepped for another charge of the F1 Esports title. He has got Rasmussen though in behind, as now we're seeing them though come together. The two greats in the F1 Esports Pro Championship. Rasmussen, who hasn't been outside of the top 3 at all in his F1 Esports career, has currently sat in P2 in the championship ever since 2019, every year consecutively. Jarno Otmir, a 2-time F1 Esports champion, looking to retake his crown this year as well. Rasmussen still trying to push, give everything as they head their way down towards the Lakea section. They are in tandem, nothing separates them. Lawrence still sat in 3rd place, but Otmir, as he makes his way through the next right-hander, he's delivered a clinic, certainly to say the least. He said vocally out on stream that he was happy to be back on this build of the game on F123. It's delivered him certainly a clinic today, because Jarno Otmir is going to be your winner of the PSGL social race here at Spain in blistering style. Gets past Freddie Rasmussen on the final lap, who finishes 2nd. Otis Lawrence, a brilliant 3rd place, Jack Cannan.
What a fantastic finish between these two, and it's always these two, Jarno Otmir and Freddie Rasmussen, up at the front end already. Otis Lawrence with a brilliant, I have to say, brilliant P3. There was absolute mental stuff going on further down in about P6 or so. We didn't catch any of it, but I did see that Wilson Hughes came from basically the back of the grid inside the P7. But again, Jarno Otmir first blood in the social race, and it's Freddie Rasmussen P2. But as you can see, the game is given the driver of the day to Wilson Hughes, and I'm not surprised, because he's come from a 10-place grid penalty to somehow finish in P7 with a fantastic effort. But what a race. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just the prequel to the whole season. This is what we've got to look forward to. Jarno Otmir versus Freddie Rasmussen, and Otis Lawrence. He is the young guy. He's not even old enough to get into F1 Esports yet, and he's fighting 2 of the greats of F1 Esports next to him right there. Brilliant race. But looking further down, Alvaro Caraton in P4, Danny Berezne finishing P5, Wilson Hughes P6 from P14. But it's Philip Preschnader from 18th, finished in P7, Ishmael Fassi P8, Thomas Ronar P9, and Brendan Lee with the final score of the points in P10. But Wow, what a race. And, well, I think that's the first time Jarno Opmeer has won a social race here at PSGL, so amazing stuff, but it's always these two, Jarno Opmeer and Freddie Rasmussen. No matter what you do, each game cycle, they are there.
It is the typical contenders, Jack. Two of the greats in F1 Esports. Opmeer coming in first place. Freddie Rasmussen in second. Otis Lawrence, though, a superb third. Caraton coming back in fourth as well. Maybe he's enjoying the new build too. Berejne back in the top 5. Wilson Hughes, as you said, recovering after a terrible 10-place grid penalty at the very start, now P6. Philip Prejnader into 7th. Ishmael Fassi in 8th. Ronha in 9th. Brendan Lee in the top 10 as well. Nicholas Longue in 11th. Benham in 12th. Tom Manley in 13th with Luke Smith 14th. Marcel Kiefer 15th with Ruben Pedreño 16th. Fabrizio Donoso 17th. Dylan Warren 18th. John Evans just all went wrong. 19th place. Barry Burremand last of the cars, obviously after that DNF. Incredible race. I am on fire, Jack. My head is absolutely sweating, and I cannot believe what we just witnessed. And has this answered the question? Is Jarno back? Is he back to his best? Obviously, we've just seen Freddie Rasmussen yet again deliver a clinic. Again, it seems to be the consistent members that we've seen year on year. But this looks like it might be his year. Let's wait and see. Obviously, still a lot more to come. This is only a social race, remember. Caraton, of course, won it last year and could not find the same form again. But what does this mean, Jack?
Well, the thing is, we had that contact between Barry and Jarno. So Barry was unfortunately not involved in this fight. So it could have been an even spicier one when we have Barry in the mix in there as well. So hard to judge, but Jarno looks very, very good. He wasn't at this level this time last year. Wasn't quite there. So to be straight out of the box, immediately winning the social race in front of Freddie, I mean, this is going to be great. And we saw Barry has not lost any pace. He's as quick as he was last game. So we've got those three in the mix. Otis Lawrence, who's reserved for this season, finishing in P3. Amazing, amazing job. And Caraton looking as good as he did early last season. But again, we can't 100% take this as what's going to happen in the season because, guys will not want to show their true pace yet. It's just the way it is with F1 Esports. It's so competitive. But it's a great early sign for us, PSGL, because straight away we've had a fantastic race, and it shows Spain, without the chicane, far superior.
Yeah, I think so. I think we witnessed probably the most overtakes we've seen down that long straight, I think, ever at Spain. I think definitely having the last chicane off the calendar, I think, has definitely opened up more opportunity for the drivers as well. I mean, we witnessed so many moments. I think, obviously, Otis Lawrence, definitely a star for the future, Jack, I would say, on the basis of what we've seen today. And Dylan Warren back in the mix too, definitely showing some of the pace that we could potentially expect from him. I mean, he's performing better than some of the new guys that got their starts last season. I mean, could there be a resurgence for Dylan Warren? Can he find that season 27 pace that we witnessed in the past?
Well, he certainly made a good show of himself today with getting himself through the Q3, up in the mix there, up at the front end as well. So again, there's plenty of storylines and potential questions we can take forward into this season as well. I mean, we had Wilson Hughes missing from that fight for a good chunk because, of course, he got those grid penalties early on. But I mean, to come through to P7, P6 after all of that craziness, I mean, that's great as well. Wilson Hughes looking really good as well. There's a lot to consider going into this, and the thing is as well, we were missing some guys who are going to be part of the season. We were missing Lucas Blakely first of all from that fight as well. You can imagine Lucas in the mix for this as well. We're missing Josh Ito as well, yes, from Red Bull.
Another key name.
So there's just so much, and we just had a teaser of what to expect. This is what's so good about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can only just wait and see what happens. I mean, obviously still plenty of time to go. Obviously still until the new F1 Esports season kicks off. But you won't have to wait too long until the brand new PSGL season, because it's going to be opening up next week, folks. The PCF1 Championship is commencing on Wednesday next week. So do not miss it. Only 7 days away, and you'll be able to tune in and watch the action kick off. And of course, the calendar will be brought to your eyes as well when we get started on social media. Don't forget to check out the socials as well at Premier Sim GL on Twitter and Instagram. Stay tuned in to everything, folks, as well. If you want to check me out as well, my name is, of course, George Morgan at George Morgan TV. Make sure you check out my socials on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on there. Jack, would you like to share your socials as well?
Absolutely. Well, I am at Jack C. Combs, as you can now see below us.
Yes.
on our screen.
You can see what they are now. 2 C's.
But they are down below.
There you are, 2 C's.
And the two C's and Jack_Kanan on Instagram if you want to find me there as well. But I'm sweating. It's so warm in this room right now.
You wouldn't think we've got a heat wave at the moment. We're in the middle of summer. I mean, I would show you what I'm wearing, below here, but it's not jeans. It is, in fact, a pair of shorts. You wouldn't think you could wear this with a pair of shorts. Turns out you can. So, proved you a lot wrong. But yeah, looking ahead. Sorry, Jack. Say that again.
Fashion icon.
Fashion icon. Wearing basketball shorts, Jack. Do you want to see? I mean, honestly.
No, I don't know.
The basketball shorts with a shirt and an overshirt. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, we've got a driver in the waiting room. We've got Otis Lawrence with us, so we can have a little chinwag. Why don't we? Indeed. Welcome to the commentary box, Otis Lawrence. And great to hear from you, my friend. Great to have you with us. An impressive display, it has to be said. Marvellous attempts in qualifying. Fastest in Q2. And you turned up in the race and you were overtaking and swapping with Freddie Rasmussen. You must be absolutely thrilled with your race today.
Yeah, the race went well. I'm very glad to perform really good in my first race of 23. The game suits me quite a lot, so yeah, very happy with performance, and hopefully this continues for the rest of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we got lots to come going forward, Otis. Obviously, you're not old enough yet to take part in challenges as such. You weren't taking part last season. And obviously, you've got to look ahead to another bright future of league racing to obviously tee up a potential future. But it must give you an awful lot of encouragement when you are on the pace and on the level with many of the top stars that have won esports titles in the past.
I'm just going to keep pushing. I think that's the main thing at the moment. Only got 1 year left, so yeah, just gonna keep doing the best I can. Challenges this year, hopefully. This game year. And yeah, just gonna keep pushing and trying my best in every single race and trying to perform impress.
Well, there you go. You certainly will do that if you continue what you're doing. Obviously, last season we saw you come into PSGL and enter some of the final races of the last season. That, of course, being on the F1 22 game. You have that versatility to swap between two different platforms. We certainly can't make any secret of the fact that obviously the handling model has changed a little bit from last year to this year. How has that affected you? Have you enjoyed the change? Has it improved you?
I'm not sure if it's improved me. I'll let people decide that. But yeah, the game is so much better, so much more fun. I think it suits my driving style a lot more because I like a more oversteery setup. So yeah, I think I've improved a bit maybe. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I'm very happy with the game so far, and yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
Well, I certainly don't think you're the only one, mate. Congratulations on a superb result here again today, and I'm sure we'll see you in the future, despite you not having a full-time seat. If we get the chance, we'll see you a few times to race in the top tier of PSGL this year.
Hopefully, if people ain't driving, then I'll try to get that spot. But yeah.
Great stuff. We'll look forward to seeing it. Otis, congratulations, my friend. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, George.
Well done, well done. Otis Lawrence, everybody, after excelling what we can only describe as a sensational effort in today's race. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. My mic was on mute for this particular screen. But Jack Kanan has unfortunately had to ditch out, so you've got me just for the final moments. But yes, what a result for Otis Lawrence. But folks, I'm just going to reiterate, I don't think we've got any more drivers for an interview. I have checked the waiting room, nobody there. But fantastic race, fantastic action. We've seen plenty of it. And I would like to also thank you guys at home, the viewers, for tuning in and being part of PSGL. We really do appreciate all your support. You guys certainly help make this series everything and have done ever since we got started on the PC platform in season 27. Trust me, we do appreciate it. If you would please also check out the socials, as I alluded to before, at Premier Sim GL, that would be much appreciated. If you want to check me out as well, at George Morgan TV, you can see the tag down below as well. And you can find out more about what we're up to there as well. But guys, it's been a privilege. I'll see you next week for more PSGL when we go racing for the first race of the brand new championship next season. Do not miss a thing. We'll bring it to you. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye.
Desperately trying to hang on. He's got the inside. All here is through on the left-hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is his job done. Jono Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jono Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.
Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. got rose in my cup, though. Shawty climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup, though.